Oh no!
What's up, everybody? Welcome to PS I Love You XOXO episode 20. I'm one of your hosts, Greg Miller, alongside the OK Beast Blessing, Adeoye Jr.
Greg, do I want to know?
I don't have a good answer for you. You know what I mean? I think it's the fact that today in the kind of funny scheduling department, right? Like I had a bunch of important business calls in the beginning of the day. Then we just did a quick let's play with Funhouse or whatever for the upcoming kind of Funhouse week. And so I haven't really been on shows. And so you know how it gets. I get it all built up. And so I'm just ready to fucking go. And I warned you. Did Lucy James deliver my message of warning to you?
Lucy James definitely delivered that message. I was playing Overwatch earlier today. And it's me, it's Lucy James, it's Timur, and it's Simon Cardi of IGN.
Sure.
And as we're playing, I forget what prompted it. Actually, no, I think I do know what prompted it. Something about like, it was like a mother-daughter relationship thing, like that was referenced, I think, with like, I forget the exact thing. But that then prompted Lucy to message your guys' family Slack. Because you guys, of course, are all a family over there in the Miller household. Yeah. Which then prompted you guys, to say, I forget exactly what the wording was. But
I was on fire, all right? So I was on fire. So Lucy hit us up and let us know because we were talking about something else. And then Lucy was also like, oh, by the way, Cardi says your leftovers look amazing. Because mainly it was her and Jen talking, right? And Jen goes, aw. And then Lucy says, and Tam says they're inspirational. And then Jen goes, thank you, everybody. And then I said, tell Cardi that his Predator review is an embarrassment. They asked if they should keep doing IGN when I was leaving. And I said, yes. And it turns out it was a mistake to say that. Tell Tam he's cool. Then Lucy said anything to Blessing, and I said, he better strap in for the best PS I Love You yet. I'm gonna rock I'm gonna rock him eyes to asshole.
Oh no, I don't think you can say that. I don't think you can say that, Greg.
And she read that out loud while we were playing Overwatch, and everybody was like, is there an HR department? And it's kind of funny. And I was like,
Kevin.
I think it's Kevin.
Yeah, Kevin, am I approved as boss to talk to him? I'm his co-host in this scenario. You know what I mean?
But I approve it though.
I have quite a bit of paperwork that I need to bring over to you. That's unacceptable.
But like the
in
thing is,
any way,
from my ear from my eyes. My asshole. Is that the phrasing?
Yeah, that's asshole. I made it up. I think. I don't know if I've ever heard someone say they're gonna rock somebody eyes to asshole. Because I don't mean it in a sexual sense. I just mean I'm so fucking powerful today. You know what I mean?
Oh wow!
Yeah, right. I'm potent today.
If I can get rocked from my eyes to my asshole by the end of this episode, it's a success.
I think it's already started.
That's the goal.
You know what I mean? It's going on right now. Let's start with the most important thing you'll hear. It's your weekly mac and cheese update. Of course, 2 episodes ago, Bless said, hey, Greg, what PlayStation executive do you think makes the best mac and cheese? Which started a fierce debate that we recapped last week where Adam Boyes, Gio Corsi, Corey Barlog, Sid Schumann, Tim Turry, all these people were chiming in wanting to get into an actual mac and cheese competition for the title of best PlayStation executive, past or present, who makes the best mac and cheese. And so the question, though, became from that first episode was, how would Herman Hulst fare in this? You know what I mean? What would Herman, of course, president now of PlayStation Studios, Worldwide Studios, what would he know about mac and cheese being from Amsterdam? And so on the first episode, we asked him, do you have mac and cheese in Amsterdam? And he didn't respond. And the next episode, we asked him, do you have mac and cheese in Amsterdam? And now, as we recapped last episode, he hasn't been tweeting a lot lately. So it was one of those things like maybe he's just missing them. There's a lot of things going on. He's busy. I understand. But then we did notice he had been tweeting. So then I had the bright idea. I had the bright idea here, Bless, of I'll get into a conversation he's having, hijack it into the mac and cheese conversation we're in like Flynn. Because Herman tweets, excited to introduce hashtag PlayStation Studios. We'll continue to tell stories, build new worlds, and create memorable characters. Now, of course, I'm sure you're PlayStation fans. You already know about this, but PlayStation Studios now the umbrella for first party. We're going to talk about it later on. We're going to talk about it really in the second story, I think, is whatever is. But like the first story is actually all about it as well. So it's just, PlayStation, PS I Love You. That's how we do it here. However, so he says, excited to introduce PlayStation Studios. We'll continue to tell stories, build new worlds, and create memorable characters. To which I respond, congrats. Parentheses, is mac and cheese a thing in Amsterdam? To which Herman responds, man, no, but I'll make you some when you visit to go with your wings. So there you go. We're done. We're in like fun.
So mac and cheese isn't a thing in Amsterdam.
It is officially not a thing in Amsterdam.
But he will make some.
But he will make it. So then now it's an interesting wrinkle to this whole conversation. What the fuck does Herman think he knows about mac and cheese? You know
what does that mac and cheese look like? Like,
and I, because this is the thing. We've had a lot of international European listeners out there shouting out that, well, no, we have carbonara. We have cacio e pepe. Like, I understand these dishes, but they're not mac and cheese. That's not mac and cheese. And so the question is, like Herman admitting that, man, no, and it's exclamation point. Is mac and cheese a thing in Amsterdam? Man, no. You don't know. Almost, and it's like he's like offended by the question. It depends how you want to interpret it.
I mean, when you ask him for like the 8th time,
could it be that you're asking him a bunch of time? Maybe he's responding to the harassment.
Could it be that it's a huge announcement? It's a huge announcement for PlayStation Studios and fucking moron Greg Miller's in there. Then I'll make you some when you visit to go with your chicken wings. So we'll have to see. We'll have to see what he's got when we go out there to Amsterdam, probably in the year 2022, the way the pandemic's going.
Wow. There's also a European backyard update. I've been reached out to by many European person, and everybody who is European who listens to the show hit me up in my DMs, told me actually. Everybody did. Wow. Greg, you would be shocked how many people were very passionate about this conversation.
Sure.
Apparently there's just no backyards in Europe at all.
Really? I thought this was going the other way.
No, shocking. Absolutely not a backyard, which is weird because when I first asked the question, I asked it kind of jokingly because I just assumed everywhere it was a backyard, but not in Europe. No, not one backyard.
Huh, not one. Wow. You hate to see it. You hate to see it.
But behind every house is another house, Greg. It's wild.
Wow. Yes, they talked about the courtyards. They're shared courtyards and stuff. Lucy.
For a second, I thought that was Lucy.
I just want to clarify: a courtyard is not a backyard.
No backyards in Europe. Like backyards aren't a thing in Europe.
What? No, I have a backyard.
She has a backyard. She says, "Don't show our addresses. Don't be a goon here. No, you know what I mean? You better. Yeah. Seems like the jury's still out. Maybe around London there's backyards, but it sounds like
didn't she grow up on like a farm or something? Because I don't think that counts. Yeah, I don't think that counts.
That doesn't count?
No.
Okay. Lucy, you've been disqualified because you grew up on a farm.
No, I did not grow up in Newcastle.
Yeah, but Newcastle's kind of backwater, we said, right?
Wait, she grew up in a castle?
No, not a literal castle.
No, it's in Newcastle, so it's just like small. The condominiums.
Oh my God! Apparently there is a castle in Newcastle. She's yelling at me. I didn't think she grew up there though. You know what I mean?
Is that where they make the beer? Can you ask if that's where they make the beer?
I think it is. Yeah, that's where they make the beer, right? Newcastle. Yeah, Newcastle Brown Ale.
Does Newcastle have a soccer team? I feel like I've chosen Newcastle in a FIFA game before.
Does Newcastle have a soccer team?
Yeah, Newcastle United.
Yeah, then the Newcastle United. There you go. Ladies and gentlemen, enough about that. Let's instead talk about the week in PlayStation. All right, there's a bunch to do. We have a whole bunch of stuff to go on. You know what this is. This is PS I Love You XOXO, your weekly PlayStation podcast. Each and every week, Blessing and myself jump into all things PlayStation, nerd out with you about it. We just hang out and talk PlayStation. And if you like that, you should head over to patreon.com/kindafunnygames where you can be part of the show. You can give us your questions, your comments, your concerns, all things under the Shuhei sun. Then, of course, you can get the show ad-free. You can get it with the post show we do each and every week, and you can get it early. Watch it right now as we're recording it live. Patreon.com/kindafunnygames. Great times, golden hits, good oldies. You know what I mean? However, if you want to get it later, youtube.com/kindafunnygames, roosterteeth.com, podcast services around the globe each and every Tuesday morning, 9 a.m. Sometimes, yes, that runs into different things we didn't know were going to happen. A lot of people saw the whole thing again is always Blessing. Time's a flat circle. All right, have you guys thought about moving the show? Seems like there's always an announcement on Tuesday from PlayStation. There's always an announcement every day. And luckily, we have a show called Kinda Funny Games Daily that covers it on the daily. Then we come here and we argue about mac and cheese. And then, 40 minutes into the show, we'll actually get something PlayStation related. Let's thank our Patreon producers, Mohammed, a.k.a. Momo, The Predator, Al Tribesman, James Hastings, Sancho West Gaming, Cody Banks, Trent Berry, Julian, The Gluten-Free Gamer, Joseph O. Youssef, and Scott Radloff. Today, we're brought to you by our sponsor, ExpressVPN, but I'll tell you about that later. For now, let's start with this week's X's and O's.
Greg, we have two items today. First item is sort of a bigger topic like we do week to week here. Second item, I'm introducing a thing called PlayStation Updates, which are going to be like the smaller updates. And so we'll get there when we get there. But for number one, do PlayStation Studios take enough risks, Greg? This is a question that was spawned on a KFGD. I believe it was actually this last Friday, where we were talking about Ghost of Tsushima. We were talking about it being derivative, but how that's for us, that's okay, right? Like we don't necessarily need it to reinvent the wheel.
Obviously, in the time we've been gone, the state of play happened for Ghost of Tsushima. A big old update of what the game looks like. Here's how it plays. Here's the menus. Here's that beautiful HUD. We did a reacts for it. Of course, you can get on youtube.com/kindafunnygames. We had a long conversation about how hyped we were for it. And then the next morning, I do believe it was Nanobiologist wrote into Games Daily saying, hey, I'm not as hyped for it, this, so many people seem to be just like, oh, it's more Assassin's Creed, which is fine, which then led Blessing to utter the phrase, wait, do PlayStation Studios, again, remember, first party is now under the umbrella of PlayStation Studios, which we can talk about here, I guess, as well, take enough risks, which we thought was such a great question. We brought it here to this episode.
Yes. So to start off that conversation, right, I guess we should talk about Ghost of Tsushima, which got the PlayStation State of Play, which was surprisingly, like, it was announced the same day that we posted PS Love You XOXO.
As usual. And
funny enough, like in that episode, we had that conversation. I can't remember if it was a post-show conversation or like a conversation during the actual show where we were talking about like Ghost of Tsushima and gameplay and how we hadn't gotten it yet.
And I remember saying in that episode, right, if they're going to do something, they got to do it soon. And then like literally the next day. So let me be very clear. If they're going to announce the PlayStation 5, they got to announce it soon. They got to announce when this reveal event is. So if that happens tomorrow, ladies and gentlemen, you're welcome. It was because us. Yeah, literally on last episode, I said, the exact phrase I said was like, if they're going to do it, it's got to be in like the next week or so. And then, it happened. A summary of what we got though from that Ghost of Tsushima focused state of play, right? Like, I basically busted out bullet points because they did the great thing. One, I should say this is a great state of play. But they did a wonderful thing where throughout the 18 minutes of it, they had subtitles essentially like displaying like what is happening in the demo, right? Like kind of explaining to us like the different features of Ghost of Tsushima. So as a summary of what we got, right? The game is going to be curiosity driven, as they put it. There's going to be a lot of exploration and discovery going on, very akin to something like Breath of the Wild. You use guiding wind to navigate the island. You can call it gust of wind at any point to use to your advantage. So imagine if you missed it, of course, imagine rather than getting a giant arrow on the screen, right? This wind blows across the screen when you call for it, showing this is the direction you should be going for your objective, trying to really get you immersed in this beautiful world they're making. Smokestacks
indicate people in need of help, and these, of course, like side activities, right, as you would get in any other open world game. Some birds will lead Jin, the main character, to points of interest, such as hidden locations. You can explore abandoned buildings to collect rare resources. Foxes will guide Jin to hidden shrines. You can take a samurai or ghost approach, which is a pretty cool thing, kind of akin to Infamous's like good or bad kind of approach, but this is more so like a how am I going to approach this camp? So like Ghost is more so like a ninja where you are kind of Batman-y, and then Samurai it is like you're kind of the honorable, like I'm gonna approach my enemies, have like one-on-one standoff, that sort of thing. Yeah, fair fights.
What are you doing? What are you planning on?
I don't know yet. Like it's gonna depend on. I'm sure you're gonna be able to like feel it out toward the beginning of the game and like try out
see what fits best.
Off the bat, I'm thinking Ghost because I do like that idea of being able to kind of be creative in my approach.
I want to know how tied to morality it is. Like, you know what I mean? Is it going to lead to different choices, different outcomes, different conversations about it? And then also like, is Ghost like frowned upon, right? But then also I guess like the story we're getting involved here, right? Like, do these people deserve a fair fight that I'm going after? Are the, you know what I mean? Or is it just like, I'm here to fuck you guys up. You've come in, you've taken over, my island or whatever.
Yeah. And then they also showed off the photo mode, the black and white mode, and the Japanese voiceover in the game that, they very much took pride in being a thing of like, this is a game that takes place in Japan and we want to be very authentic to the things that have inspired us to make this game. And so the black and white mode is made to kind of pay homage to Japanese film that have come before
it. Films, yeah. And I'll tell you, man, that's the one. I mean, like obviously I've watched this demo 3 times, through 2.5, something like that. And the thing I think that gets me the most stoked in terms of presentation, because I think this game is so based on presentation, which I know we're about to talk about, is in fact this black and white mode. You know what I mean? Like playing this game through a different lens and having that rain come in all the time, having it be like in your face, having it be dark. I don't know. There's a lot of cool shit going on, but we're gonna get into it. I'll stop.
Yeah. So people can go watch our reaction on youtube.com/kindoffunnygames where we talk about where we watch the trailer for the first time, live react to it, and it's me, you, Andy, Tim, and afterwards we talk about our impressions of it, all that good stuff. But like, all the stuff sounds cool. All the stuff like showed well. All the stuff looked awesome. And I think overall, like the impressions I got from us and the internet at large was fairly positive. Like people were feeling really good about it, which is really awesome. There's an article I want to pull in to this conversation of it being derivative and to the question that nanobiologist asked on KFGD. It's a Forbes article titled Ghost of Tsushima is basically Assassin's Creed Japan, which I found very interesting. This is Eric Kane at Forbes, who writes, It looks very much like the culmination of countless other open world games, all the various ideas distilled down and slightly reimagined and revised. In some ways, it's the Assassin's Creed Japan we've all been waiting for, which isn't a bad thing. Granted, it isn't exactly like Assassin's Creed, but the similarities are there. You're basically an assassin, at least when in ghost mode. You're fighting against the invading Mongol horde, which can stand in for the Templar. It's open world with a major focus on exploring and finding shrines and other points of interest, and it's a period piece, rich with culture and history. Indeed, it feels quite a bit less RPG focused and fantastical than recent Assassin's Creed games. It may be more Assassin's Creed than Assassin's Creed is these days, and without the irritating forays into the present that kill immersion in those games. Greg, again, back to the original question. And I guess Ghost of Tsushima here is the jumping off point for it, but we can expand this to the wider first party slate. Does PlayStation Studios take enough risks?
It's a great question. And I think especially coming off this Ghost presentation, because, for Eric's, the 4 paragraphs we read here of Eric's story from Forbes here, I think you can go harder than he goes here, right? Where he's like, you're basically an assassin in ghost mode. You don't even need the ghost mode thing, right? Because as somebody who played so much Odyssey, is playing Origins right now, and we'll talk about that when we get to what we're playing. Like, when I watched this demo, I think honestly one of the reasons I actually jumped back to Assassin's Creed to generalize this week was coming off of the demo of Ghost, because it is so just everything you're seeing moment to moment in terms of even the horseback riding, the looting the trees as you run by. I'm watching the demo as I talk here. They popped up a second ago, like showing you what rewards you would get. And some of it was materials. Like, you're picking up linen right here. Like, it honestly does seem very much like it is exactly in line with the open world RPG Assassin's Creed we've seen. So for him to be, it feels quite a less bit RPG focused. I don't know about that, honestly, looking through it, especially when earlier on they showed, being either ghost or samurai, right? And going through those skill trees and kind of progressing out each way like that. I think it is very much in line with that. And so for everybody at the time to say they were into it, and then, and I think people are still into it, but to come back the next day a little bit and have it, because the question from Nano on Games Daily was like, how do you feel the next morning? Like the morning after, are you still as high on it as you were then? Because I've watched it and I don't know if I am actually. I'm still incredibly high on this. This still looks awesome. As somebody who loves the Assassin's Creed games, loves open world, roam around, I'm going to throw RPGs in there. Arguable how much of an RPG this is, but you know what I mean. Action RPGs, action adventure games, open world. Like, this is exactly what I want, especially coming from a PlayStation first party, which means they're able to actually focus on it, make sure it runs great, have all these great things that I think
make it more refined.
Exactly. And as we, one of the things we were so impressed with watching the State of Play was the foliage, was the color, was all the belt, like these completely optional things they didn't need to do, whether it be samurai mode, Japanese voice tracks, stuff like that. I'm cool with that. And I want that. However, I do, and when we were talking and reacting to it, I was surprised when Tim said he wanted to play it, right? Because I was like, wait, you don't play the Assassin's Creed. And when everybody was like, oh yeah, like, when Tim asked the end of like predict scores, and people were like, oh man, I think this will get 9s and stuff. Don't get me wrong, Sucker Punch is incredibly talented, and I can see that getting it. But I could also see it it's another 8.5. It's another awesome open world RPG, action game, open action game, where you roam around, you fight the things, you clear camps, you get better equipment, and you go on that way. So, to the question that you raised, Blessing, that I think we will not spend so much time on, it's a weird one now, right? Because it would have been, before it was a proper noun, PlayStation Studios would have been.
Is PlayStation Studios not a proper noun?
No, it is now. Before it would have been like, do PlayStation Studios take enough time? But because it's now singular, right? Yeah, it's like, does PlayStation Studios take enough time? Do PlayStation first party games take enough risks, right? Are they playing it too safe? It's a loaded question, and I don't know the answer. I would say no. They don't play it safe. I think starting to debate that and talk about that's where it gets interesting. I think you look at Ghost of Tsushima, and it is playing it safe. From third-person action adventure, making it like an Assassin's Creed game, right? Sure, that sounds on paper playing it safe, but to pick, historic Japan, to have this Japanese language track, to have your main character be Japanese, which I know is ridiculous, right? But think about like mainstream breakout games. Sure, we can look at Yakuza. Sure, we can look at Sekiro. Sure, we can look at these things. You're talking about something that samurai films don't appeal to everyone, right? I think that's where I'm driving with this. And granted, they've had more of a comeback with Nioh and Sekiro lately, but even then, they're not the breakthrough, big budget, huge success stories you see. I think it is a risk to make this. It is a risk to say to Sucker Punch, sure, don't make another Infamous game. You know, you're legitimately, you are our superhero studio. Superheroes still incredibly hot. Don't make that. Move on. You want to make this. You want to make a samurai film. You want to make it as Japanese and samurai as possible with the filters and language tracks and the imagery and everything else. Go for it. Like, that's not the biggest risk in the world, but it is like you can play it safe and just have them make Infamous 3 if they wanted to number it right, or like Infamous whatever they want to call it.
2.
Yeah, exactly.
See, my rebuttal to that would be, would another Infamous game right now work, especially with Spider-Man being a thing? Like, sure. I feel like right now, if you have those two IPs battling it out, then, and not even necessarily battling it out, but putting those games out toward like the same period, yeah. I feel like you're doing one or the other a disservice, and mainly Infamous a disservice at that point, right? Like, I feel like at that point, people are gonna flock more toward a Spider-Man rather than an Infamous, and so you kind of want Sucker Punch to be doing something different right now.
Yes, no. I feel like you could easily make the argument that we were talking about before of drafting off that success, right? Where I think, yeah, Spider-Man's a great game, but Spider-Man was already 2 years ago, right? Like, wouldn't you want them cycling in and off, handing off the baton? We're back to talking about Assassin's Creed, right? Where, you know, it was Origins, then a year off, then Odyssey, then, or wasn't a year off between Origins and Odyssey? Maybe it wasn't actually. Maybe, no. But it was Odyssey for sure. Yeah, Odyssey a year off into Valhalla now, right? And to the point that, you know, I was inclined after watching the Valhalla thing to be like, fuck, I want to play Assassin's Creed right now. I want to play it, you know, in my free time this week, play a 2-year-old game or whatever. Like, I think there is that encouragement to it, and you can do different things with it. And there's even an argument you talk about this, like, remember how we were all up in arms about like, oh man, Days Gone and Last of Us are going to be competing in that zombie space. They're going to be doing all these different things. And they really haven't, right? Like Days Gone, you know, we've talked I think to death about it, you know what I mean, in terms of critic reception versus audience reception and stuff like that. But a success, right? I would think for PlayStation, I think it sold well. It seems like everybody's happy with it. You see people talk about it. They said that, you know, the studio Bend, who again I think is great, celebrated, you know, the year with a big event and all these different conversations, and the fan base was there for them. I think that you don't look at Last of Us Part 2 right now and go, oh man, it's another zombie game, right? Like I think it's part of the reason probably Last of Us is playing down the zombies and more about like Ellie's story and Joel's story.
But I feel like we did look at Days Gone and have that reaction. Like I feel like when Days Gone was first revealed, we had that reaction of like, huh, like this at first when the trailer first popped up, I think most people thought like, oh, is this Last of Us? And when you actually got the game, you're like, huh, interesting for them to be doing another zombie game after doing Last of Us.
But see, I think that's one of those things where we sit here and, you know, after an E3 press conference or when a game gets announced or whatever, we sit here and Monday morning quarterback the hell out of it, like nickel and dime these decisions, yada yada yada. And then even when Days Gone launched, I don't remember people being like, I'm gonna wait for Last of Us, I'm gonna do this thing. It was because it's such a different game. Days Gone is more akin to Ghost of Tsushima, right? Of like, here's this giant open world, do missions, you know, get better weapons, right? And, you know, upgrade Deacon and do all these things. Like, that's not with the general words I just used, you could make an argument I'm wrong, but for the most part, that's not what Last of Us is, right? Especially the open world stuff. Like Last of Us is a narrative-based adventure. We're giving you a linear story, whereas Days Gone was more upgrade your bike however you want to, get the best weapon, go out and do this mission or do that mission or do this, just hunt hordes here at the end, you know, blah blah blah. Like, that's, again, now that I say all that brings us back to the thing of like, is PlayStation Studio playing it too safe? Because of course we are talking about a game now. Is the lion's share of PlayStation Studios just third-person action adventure open world games? Do whatever you want, right? Because you figure right there, we're talking about Ghost, we're talking about Days Gone, we're talking about Spider-Man. Like they start falling into the bucket. Sorry, what was that one?
Last of Us.
Last of Us doesn't count, right? Because that's not. I mean, third-person action game. I said open world, so I'm trying to.
I see what you're saying.
You know what I mean? But yeah, you're not wrong about that, right? And that's why I think it was interesting. Hold on, I want to toss. Of course, we asked this question ahead of time on the Games Daily. So many people then wrote in here to PS I Love You XOXO for a Best Friends Talk Back segment where we asked, do you think PlayStation plays it too safe? Charles Jacobson wrote in with a very nice breakdown, I thought. Greetings, Greg and Blessing. What a question. His answer, yes. But that's the case for Xbox and Nintendo as well. I'll get a lot of hate for this, but first-party titles are not where innovation comes from. You can trace all the most innovative things in first-party titles back to a third-party / indie. Why do they play it safe? Simple. I can define PlayStation first-party like this. Third-person, action-adventure. What has Naughty Dog made since they became first-party? Action-adventure in one racing game. How about Sucker Punch? But Guerrilla was essentially designated to try to make a killer app first-person shooter, and when given a chance for something else, what was it? You guessed it. Third-person action-adventure. Santa Monica? Check with God of War. Bend? Check. Insomniac? Well, let's see what North Carolina has to do with VR, but I think we see where things are going, especially with Spider-Man. Polyphony Digital? Well, Gran Turismo is the exception. Pixel Opus makes artistic games like Entwined and Concrete Genie. Even Concrete Genie, though, was third-person, not open world, but action. You know what I mean? It was run around and climb the buildings and collect the things and fight the things.
I was still... Concrete Genie I would take out of that group of like the when you look at the Last of Us and you look at the Ghost and Horizon and all this, like Concrete Genie I would put in the bag of being a risk in some sense, but like still not like I wouldn't say that like Concrete Genie is as much of a risk as if like Guerrilla Studios made that game, right? Like I feel like Concrete Genie is a risk worth taking.
For the record, I had to edit Charles's letter here because he went on and on and on and on in a good way. Great job, Charles. Very comprehensive. But he did give you credit for saying when Concrete Genie we were originally discussing, you said they didn't need to make this game. This game didn't need to exist. You want to talk about risks, right? Like, Concrete Genie is definitely the Unraveled of PlayStation, and I go back to that of like 2015. Peter Moore is on our E3 stage. Excuse me, and he's like, we're talking about why they're doing these EA originals, why they're doing Unraveled. And he's like, listen, Unraveled's not going to make money, but FIFA and Madden make so much money that we can reinvest and we can do this. And so, as I said, with Pixel Opus in particular, Concrete Genie, dynamite fucking game, everybody should play, blew me away in terms of presentation, those cutscenes, the quality of it, how much I loved playing that game. Like, that was a platinum I finished and wanted more. That is a game that I'm sure as they were making it, PlayStation at least, I don't know about Pixel Opus, and I don't think they have to worry about it, but PlayStation definitely knew we're not going to make our money back on this. Like, this isn't going to go gangbusters. This is another prestige piece that harkens back to what we are as PlayStation, which is a risk taker. It is something that will do something that is fun and different and doesn't appeal to everybody, but appeals to a PlayStation audience member. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and like I think Charles is right. Like in terms of the role that first party games play, like I would say the same thing about Xbox and Nintendo also, right? I don't think their first party games take risks, right? When I look at Nintendo, like,
Xbox in particular, right? We'll see what happens at this event when we come to July and what they have. But if you look at Gears 5, right? Like, all right, well,
like
Forza, all right,
Gears, Halo, and Forza has been kind of this generation for Xbox, and even when they have kind of branched out a bit, you get something like Sea of Thieves, which I would say is a risk, which I would say is like, oh yeah, this is them branching out. But Rare as a studio has kind of been designated as that studio that is like, all right, you guys can do the weird stuff, while we have Halos, Gears, and everything else that's like kind of taking the reins as far as being the big Microsoft games.
And as we start to look into Nintendo, right, you're going to say, well, they always make Zelda, they always make Mario, right? They do take risks in changing those formulas up. Like Breath of the Wild wasn't a normal Zelda, right?
For sure. Yeah. And Breath of the Wild was definitely like an innovation in what Zelda could be. And then you also look at games like Mario and Rabbids Kingdom Battle, the Crypt of the Necrodancer game that they made with Zelda.
Cadence of Hyrule.
Cadence of Hyrule, yeah, thank you. And like I feel like you can look at their like first party games and find like risks that they're taking mechanically and risks that they're taking design wise. But I feel like you could also make the argument that like a lot of their games do come down to having a Nintendo character in them, right? Like even the new games that Nintendo has made have been games, or like the new IPs that Nintendo has introduced have been IPs like ARMS and Splatoon that I feel like have a certain style and presentation to them that fall in line with what you expect from a Nintendo game. In the same way that like Sony does, right? Like if during this PlayStation 5 event, that's probably coming up soon, right? Like if if a PlayStation first party comes out and they introduce like, here is a third person action game, right? Like I don't think any of us are surprised, but I also don't think any of us are upset, right?
Well,
Like
here's a question how I want to evolve it, because I think we're talking about like, okay, well, yeah, like, Nintendo's always going to do Mario and Zelda, and to an extent Metroid eventually, and so you're like, all right, but they innovate in the gameplay mythology, right, or gameplay implementation. For here, I wonder, even if it is that, yeah, everybody suddenly is doing third-party action adventure games, is that playing it safe, or does the definition of playing it safe come down to what you're actually doing in the video game, right? Like, I think that it's weird to sit here as we're painting with a genre and going, well, because so many Sony first-party studios are making third-person action games, clearly they're playing it safe, but if that was the argument, then every third person action game would be guaranteed to sell, which it isn't.
Yeah. Well, to your point that you were originally making with Ghost of Tsushima, right? Like in the way that we look at Nintendo and they continually put out like Marios and Zeldas, but like different iterations on those and different innovations on those, I feel like Sony kind of does the flip thing and kind of like we talk a lot about the open world single player action third person game, but like Ghost of Tsushima, to your point, like is in the setting that we don't get a lot of nowadays, right? Like we do get like Sekiro and like Nioh and stuff, but like as a PlayStation first party game, this is fresh.
What comes up in that Forbes article, sorry to cut you off, but what comes up in that Forbes article is like, oh, it's the Assassin's Creed we've all been saying we've wanted. And it's true. Since a very early day, it's been, feudal Japan, Assassin's Creed, feudal Japan, Assassin's Creed. I don't know what it is, but there has to be some bean counter at Ubisoft who looks at it and is just like, that won't sell. That won't sell what we need it to sell, right? And am I wrong? Because it is that, again, it's the vocal minority. It's us who are on podcasts and activated on Twitter that are like, this is what we want, right? But would that really sell? Does that appeal to everybody? I don't know the answers to it. I would think it would. I wasn't like hankering to run around ancient Greece, but then, 100 hours plus later, I can't get enough of it. Like, I don't understand the argument of what's happening there, but there's clearly something there in terms of market research that's saying this isn't a safe bet.
Yeah, and I also wondered what that is, because like I have a hard time believing that Assassin's Creed Tokyo would sell less than Assassin's Creed Assassin's Creed Vikings or like Assassin's Creed Egypt. Like that's kind of a hard thing for me to reconcile in that way. But I mean, to your point, I think there has to be somebody there that's like, well, we don't want to do this right now because of X, Y, and Z. It might be a money thing, and it might be like hey, we're gonna get to this down the line, but for now we have to build up to that. Who knows? But yeah, like bringing it back to Ghost of Tsushima, right? Like, I think there is an argument that Ghost of Tsushima is a risk for Sony, even though you look at it and you're like, well, this falls in line with a lot of what we see from them nowadays. Like, still style wise, in terms of it being an innovation for Sucker Punch. Especially like coming off of the Infamous games. Like if you were to ask me what that studio was going to work on next before Ghost of Tsushima, I would have said like probably like an open world city or something like that, like something that involves the tools that they've worked with before. But for them to make the jump to making like this feudal Japan like samurai game where you feel like you're able to explore a bigger world, like that's not necessarily what you'd expect for that studio. It feels like an innovation, but at the same time, to the larger question of, is it playing it safe? Like, I don't know. Like, I don't know the answer to that question.
The other argument about how this is an example of, because I think if you can get past the genre, and like, I mean, to Charles's point, right? Of like, if I was to describe to you the fastest way possible what makes Sony first party games, and like, I'm going to start naming Uncharted and Last of Us, right, and Infamous and all these third person action games. But again, the fact that Sucker Punch is doing this game is operating in the samurai space, which you don't see, this time period, which you don't see. Again, I know Dynasty Warriors and stuff like that. And also I know I'm totally wrong about the eras in which these games all happen. We're throwing around feudal Japan pretty interestingly, and I am not that much of a guy. You know what I mean? You understand what we're talking about. Historic Japan, right? Mm-hmm. I think the fact that you want to come at it and do this, is that the safe bet? it's safe in the way that, you know, third person action is interesting, but it's not safe in the way that, cool, you're immediately compared to Assassin's Creed, which is on, you know, the heels of what, 2 stellar Assassin's Creed games, and Valhalla hopefully being the third and being kind of your competition. Granted, there's going to be gaps in there in terms of release, but if this comes out and gets middling scores, right, if this does just barely crack 8s or just does 7s, are people going to look at this and be like, I can't, or are they going to sit there and go, I'll wait for Valhalla, like I'll wait, you know, or I will do the Assassin's Creed DLC, like, even, or I'll go do Sekiro if I want that, or I'll get back to, you know, playing Neo or whatever. You know, the list goes on of other things. Entering into a market that does have competition, and again, competition that's held in a high regard. Not that you're coming in and like you can clown everybody out, then nobody else is doing this. Other people are doing this. We know what to expect from games like this, right? Like, you are entering into a thing where it isn't a safe bet because people already have their minds made up about what they want out of this.
Yeah. Yeah.
Let's get some of the kids involved because we had the whole talkback set.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of I mean, other examples of PlayStation first party games that we can kind of throw into the mix, because like,
oh, and like, hold on, there's a whole bunch in here because, like, again, people have it. Mitchell from Canada wrote in, of course, to patreon.com/kindoffunnygames, just like you can. It says, I don't think they do play it safe. Just this year, we are seeing them take big risks with games like Dreams, parentheses, completely risky, and The Last of Us Part 2, dealing with sensitive topics and extreme violence. I think Sony first party are giving us the games that giving us the games that are really pushing the industry forward right now. Dreams is the one we hadn't brought up yet, right? And
that's a good point. Yeah.
Charles's walk eventually gets there, talking about Media Molecule, but even Charles brings this up, which I thought was interesting. Media Molecule ? Well, let me ask you, isn't it curious that the new PlayStation Studios logo includes Little Big Planet and not Dreams? I don't think they will be shut down, but I suspect their next project will be more like Tearaway, a colorful platformer, which also lets kids be creative, but is easier to sell. Of course, putting Little Big Planet in there, another, you know, putting Little Big Planet into the studios is not, I think, them saying we don't believe in Dreams. It's them saying we understand people understand who Sackboy is. We want to make sure that you remember that this incredibly popular, cute character is a PlayStation thing. And also, like Charles, I don't think they're moving to something like Tearaway. I think they're going to keep working on Dreams a long time.
Yeah, like I feel like to represent Dreams in that PlayStation Studios animation would be very difficult because, like, exactly. I guess in that case, like, what you would put Art's Dream, which has
what would you put in there?
And it's like who recognizes that?
Which again is logo, but like that is a risk. And granted, I know we were already saying that, but that is a risk for PlayStation. And that's the thing I've always, you know, as somebody who's covered PlayStation for so long, what I respect about the process of making a first party game. And granted, this is what I've been told, but I've been told by, I would say, dozens of people, but maybe I'm exaggerating, but a lot of people. This isn't one studio. This isn't one interview. This is 13 years of coverage. That the way it works is that, you know, you come in to pitch your games to, back in the day, Shuhei, right? But Worldwide Studios, now Herman, right? Mm-hmm. And they don't, and for the most part, and again, I'm sure there's examples otherwise, please send them to me off the record, or on the record if you want. But it is these thing of you come in to pitch it, and if you can back it up, and if you can show you believe in it, and you can show that they're like, this is the game you guys should be making, your studio wants to make, they let you make it. And like, I think you see, as we see, you know, Spider-Man, well, that was a bad example, I guess, because that was the whole deal before they even got bought. But as we see Ghost, as you see this, as you see Days Gone, right, and see people go that way, I think part of that is the ramifications, the reverberations of Naughty Dog coming in and changing the game. And I think the fact that Naughty Dog has been so instrumental in defining what PlayStation is defined as, that it's not hard to believe or outrageous to see other people chase that. And that's not 100% fair, of course, because again, the original Infamous, right, is standing shoulder to shoulder with Nathan Drake and everything. They were already doing that. So it's not just a reaction to that. Of course, Siphon Filter from Bend was already happening before any of this. But I think there's already been a legacy there of, this is what defines these studios, right? It's not like we are seeing a Polyphony suddenly be like, you know, we want to make a third-person action game, right?
Yeah, it's not like we're seeing Media Molecule make like a racing game or something like that. Which would actually be, I'd be into that.
Kind of, it wasn't them, right? It wasn't them that actually made Little Big Planet karting, but no, it is that thing of what you believe in, what you want to go do, and I think as the industry has found this niche, as PlayStation has found this niche. Remember how what was it, 3 years ago? People were trying to say single player is dead. Like, honestly, I'm old, so probably more like 5 years ago. But like, it is this thing of like, that's where they found an audience. And I think again, like you talk about what defines PlayStation. Like I would never think of, hey, you know what? I want to play a ongoing multiplayer game that gets updates and battle passes and everything else. I hope there's an exclusive one for PlayStation. Whenever the argument comes around of like, not argument, question comes around of like, what would you want to see first party studios do? You know what I mean? I'm never sitting there going like, oh man, I really wish that somebody would bring back Warhawk, that somebody would do this. Like PlayStation has this reputation right now for making these story-based games or something, completely artsy like Concrete Genie or Dreams or the racing game in Gran Turismo, or, we haven't talked about London Studios making, actually doing VR stuff and making really cool VR shit. Like, again, I think if you were going to stick with that EA 2015 analogy I gave you, right? Like, going out and having London make Blood and Truth obviously hopefully sells PlayStation VR, which is great for the company, but also is a game that you look at and you go, all right, cool, we're going to take the loss on that because we know Last of Us and Spider-Man are going to sell. Like, we don't need to worry about that part of it. We know God of War 2 is going to be huge.
I feel like you can say the same thing for Astrobot also, as a game that for all intents and purposes, right? Like it's a 3D platformer, which isn't like the most, I guess, like quote risky game, but at the same time, right, it is like a VR game. It is. Yeah, like it is like it is a game that's existing in a space that, it's probably not going to sell like crazy, right? It being trapped, let me not even say trapped, but it being contained to VR,
limited,
limited. Like, people that game's not gonna sell like crazy, but I think it is for them a worthy investment to make, or a worthy, I guess, risk to take to put that game out, because you want to boost up VR, you want to boost up that library. I think for me, when I come back to the original question, like I think I ask a second question, which is like, do I want them to be more risky in their games? Right. Like, do I? Because for me with PlayStation, I'm very much satisfied with what their first party output is. Like, all things considered, right? Like, there have been, especially this generation and toward the end of last generation, right? Like, some very incredible games that they've released under first party. If you look at God of War, if you look at Last of Us, if you look at Uncharted 4, like, they've had bangers. Horizon Zero Dawn.
Yeah. William Simons writes into patreon.com/kindoffunnygames, just like you can. It says, hi, Greg and Bless. I personally don't think PlayStation plays it too safe. Sure, they don't provide the most innovative gameplay, but they certainly make innovative experiences. I can say without any hesitation that I have never experienced anything like God of War or Horizon. Even though the gameplay is nothing new, the way I felt is certainly unlike anything else, which fucking destroys. That's a great point.
Yeah. No, yeah. And I think that comes back to what you're saying about Ghost of Tsushima once again. Like, like genre, there are so many other differentiating factors between games other than genre, right? Like, you can do so much with that third person open world setup.
Totally.
Like, you can make so many different types of games. Like, both, I mean, you can just make the umbrella statement of like both GTA 5 and Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild are open world games. Very different games, very different worlds, very different experiences, but they're both in that umbrella genre of open world. You look at a lot of PlayStation first party games, like there's even Days Gone and Last of Us, there's a lot of differences there in terms of what's going on, what type of game they are,
what you're
going to get out of both experiences.
I want to get Wesley LeBlanc in here, but heads up, we have spoilers for the end of Spider-Man and the end of Uncharted 4 in here. Super top level spoilers that I would be surprised if you didn't know, but heads up if you're avoiding those still. I don't. So the question was, does PlayStation play it too safe? And Wesley says, I don't think they do. God of War kind of spat in the face of what it was loved for. Hey, turns out gratuitous violence isn't healthy and can have damaging effects on yourself and others around you. On the same note, Insomniac made a Spider-Man game and killed Aunt May, a traditionally integral character to the world of Spider-Man. Naughty Dog didn't kill Nathan Drake when it felt basically a lock-in to do so. Guerrilla decided to switch genres completely and create a Robo-Dino open world game instead of a first-person shooter. Sure, there are examples that demonstrate Sony playing a little safe, perhaps, but I think ultimately what sets Sony first party apart from some of the games from third party is the risk they take. God of War is a great example of this again, where it's like you could sit there and be like, it's what we've talked about, I think, when we're on Games Daily or Gamescast, talking about what I want to see out of Xbox next time around, which is innovate and make Halo Infinite feel different and make all these things, because just looking at Gears, I couldn't get excited for Gears, even though I've heard it's fantastic and they do a lot of interesting stuff in it, yada yada yada. Like, think about how I detested Kratos and hated Kratos and thought he was such a bad character for God of Wars, 3 God of Wars, and then the 2 PSP ones as well, right? Like,
God of War Ascension also.
He wasn't that. He wasn't the character in that though, right? Well, that was the multiplayer one.
Yeah, that was the one that had multiplayer in it. Was he not the character in Ascension?
I don't even remember what the fuck Ascension.
I skipped over Ascension. Hold
on. Don't calm down. Let's not freak out, everybody. Hold on. I thought it was
because it was like a prequel.
It was. Yeah. I just remember it from the stupid faction multiplayer. God of War Ascension.
It was a prequel, which might have been the thing that was like.
As with previous, it's next game chronologically. Chains of Olympus takes place. Game's narrative takes place over 4 weeks. It shifts between present and past, while the player controls Kratos in both several locations. Man, I do not, for the record, in any way, shape, or form remember what the fuck Ascension's single player was about. I remember doing the demos of multiplayer and having to preview it and shit for IGN. I could not, for the life of me, tell you what the fuck happens in Ascension's single player. Anyways,
I'm very much with you though, like as far as the changes they made to Kratos, because like as somebody who I remember as a kid like going over to my friend Addison's house and he had God of War 1 and 2 and I would watch him play it and I'd be like, yo, this game looks incredible. And I remember when I finally got around to getting the games and playing them, I was like, yeah, these are great games, right? Like for PS2, these graphics are incredible. And it's like overall just a very solid, like well-made game. But yeah, like I didn't care about Kratos. I didn't care about what was going on in that world really until God of War 2018, where they kind of reinvented themselves. And I guess reinventing yourself in an essence, you can consider like this. It's a risky thing to do because
totally, to go in there and change the DNA of that game and change the camera angle and like, it's this weird intersection we always talk about with games of art and business. And I do feel that even though they are not nearly as weird as they were in PS3 era, PlayStation is still the ones who are the art kids. They are the the table of the fucking artists and musicians and everybody else who want to make weird shit and do weird things and roll the dice. And I think most of the times to their own, and most of the time PlayStation gets in its own way. Where I think they should own that and message that. And I still would have had somebody like Shu and Adam out in front of this thing and have them be a personality for the brand. And as they recede to being just the PlayStation brand and PlayStation Studios, they lose that. And I think people start thinking of them more as like just suits or whatever. But then you look at the output of what they're putting out and they are taking millions of dollars and pouring them into art house projects. And I think, you look at something again, even like The Last of Us, where it was sure zombies are hot, but you're on the heels of Uncharted, that thing's, huge and big and boisterous and everybody loves it. And like, they were like, all right, cool. You can go make this completely bleak story that is different. And granted, obviously it's a huge success. It's, blah, blah, blah. It broke out. But even to go back then, I remember, and I've said it before on shows, like I remember that being what I thought was going to be a test of how smart is the mainstream gamer. Are we to a point that they understand that Naughty Dog before a game means something in the same way it's a Scorsese film, right? It means that it's more than that. Because I remember growing up and being like, oh, it's a Sega game, and not understanding that no, Sega didn't make it. Sega just published it for your Genesis, right, or whatever. Like I think there are a lot of people that struggle with that, understanding studios, and not as many by any stretch of the imagination. I'm talking about at the launch of Uncharted 3 into Uncharted and The Last of Us 1. So like that's a wide spanning argument I'm giving you right there, but PlayStation is the one who makes cool shit, and they continue to make cool shit, and they recruit people to make cool shit and push boundaries. I think whether it is something like Dreams or whether it is something that is playing it safe like Ghost of Tsushima, which I think only in certain ways and in certain arguments is playing it safe.
Yeah, and I mean to the point of me feeling okay with kind of where Sony is at with like their first parties and how they treat them, right? Like. Concrete Genie, I think is a very good example of like, yes, this is a game that they didn't necessarily need to make, but fulfills the purpose of bolstering up the catalog, right? Like it's a game that kind of adds character to that, right? I think you could point to, and this is kind of a weird example also, but I think we should probably mention it, like Death Stranding being a game that is super weird, and like a very risky game in the sense of what it is. I feel like when you add Hideo Kojima's name to it, it becomes way less risky, and it becomes a thing of like,
course.
okay, yeah, like you let Hideo Kojima make what he make what he wants, and then like just sell it as a Hideo Kojima game, and people will flock to it,
Sure.
or they won't. Like, let's just have a game with Hideo Kojima on it, right?
But even that again was a huge risk of like, all right, cool, like, is Kojima's name? And I would make the argument that yes, but is it, so well known that like people who liked Metal Gear but don't really follow the video games industry are going to get when they see a commercial that it's a Hideo Kojima game and has the guy from Walking Dead in it and the guy from Dexter in it? Are they going to get like, not Dexter, Hannibal? Are they going to get
is Dexter in that game?
I don't know, Matt. I never watched any of those shows, so I just remember that being a big deal for it. I forget. What do I know Mads from? Something else he did.
Mads Mikkelsen?
Rogue One.
Yeah, that's the one. Remember that? Yeah. The one that put Garywood on the map.
On the map. But yeah, I think you look at game, and it's weird. It's almost weird to include them in the same sentence like this. But in essence, like games like Death Stranding and Concrete Genie and Dreams, I'll put that in there too, right? Like they lift up the catalog in a way to where, now like these games coexisting with your Ghost of Tsushimas and your Last of Us's and your Horizons, makes that catalog fill out and feel complete and varied and gives it character. In a way where,
all right,
go for it.
No, please go.
Well, I was just saying in a way where you look at PlayStation Studios as a brand and you're like, okay, yeah, this means something. Like this has variance to it.
I think, and again, what I love about this argument and this question is that you can slice it different ways and have different arguments. Traditionally, if we're defining playing it safe by traditional rules and what I would think you actually are defining it as, then out of most of the games we just discussed, because we just ran through so many, the one that's playing it the safest is Last of Us Part 2. Because it's got a sequel on it. It's already a known property. Yeah. It's already a known hit. Like, yes, like playing it safe to me is sitting there and going like, all right, we already know people love Gears. Make another Gears. Make Gears 5. You know what I mean? All right, people love Uncharted. Hey, yeah, we don't want to make Uncharted anymore, so we want to get out of the Nathan Drake story. The fuck you do. You're not allowed to do that. You can make one more and we'll pass it off to somebody else and Nathan's story will continue. He's Indiana Jones. He should go forever. Like, that would be playing it safe, right? Oh, we want to make this weird open world samurai game. The fuck you do. Second Son had some problems. You can make it better. Go ahead and do this. You know what I mean? Or work with somebody on remastering Infamous 1 and 2 and putting that out. And or fuck, don't even do Infamous. Where's another Sly Cooper? Like, let's keep going on that track. Like, you can follow it all the way back there with Jack and Daxter, to switch over to Uncharted and stuff. Like,
I can see that. Yeah, that makes sense.
There's a lot there. Blessing.
Greg.
First off, I want to say thank you to everybody who wrote in on this topic. Again, for something that just happened on A Games Daily, amazing. And then on top of that, I want to say, you guys, as usual, it's episode 20. Thank you so much for writing in general. Today was one of those days I was going through getting all the things, and I like the way I put out the spreadsheet. I'm like, wait, how far back in the dates are? And I went over and like I had gone through like 35 questions, and they were from yesterday. Man. I was like, holy shit,
that's awesome.
You guys are still really into this show. That means a lot to us. Before we switch. Awesome. We're going to jump into the hotness of, just the quick hits or whatever. But for Ghost, we had a couple of Ghost questions that weren't necessarily about this. Are they afraid of doing, moving it forward kind of thing? You want to get into some of those?
Let's do it.
My dog, Nick96 from Massachusetts, writes in to patreon.com/kindoffunnygames and says, hi, Greg and Blessing. I'm excited for Ghost of Tsushima, but I don't want to be overhyped. Based on the state of play, the game gives me Red Dead 2 vibes, but set in the 13th century Japan. I'm also wondering how the game feels once I get control. Part of me is worried the controls could be cumbersome like Red Dead Redemption 2. It was definitely a big turnoff for me in that game. I doubt the controls in Ghost will be as clunky since it's more action focused. There's no real question here. I just wanted to voice my concern. Is there anything about Ghost of Tsushima you might be a bit skeptical on? So again, Blessing, to go full circle on this question, now not even the next morning, now a week later, how are you feeling about Ghost?
I'm still as hyped as I was before, like to the point of, it being similar to Red Dead. I think just like the mechanic that they showed where you can essentially leap forward off your horse is enough to make me go like, okay, cool. Like they know what they're doing as far as like how it feels to control, because I also had similar complaints with Red Dead of it feeling too clunky and it feeling too slow to do anything. Partly because it's the Wild West, but yeah, like with Ghost of Tsushima, like I don't have that concern that it's going to be super slow in that way. As far as like any concerns that I do have for it, like I don't from what we saw on Thursday, was it Thursday? I think it was Thursday. What we saw last week, there's nothing that really stood out to me as like, ugh, I don't know how I feel about this. Like if anything, I just have my fingers crossed that they nail it in the ways that I guess we won't know until we know, right? Like the story, we won't really know till we know, like how good that story is and how much it vibes with us. The how populated the open world is like another thing. Like I'm fine with open worlds that feel somewhat empty as long as they feel like there is a purpose to the rhyme and reason that's going on, right? When they showed off, like, you know, when they talked about curiosity and they showed off like, oh yeah, follow the birds to this, okay, smoke the smokestacks will indicate this, right? Like as long as that stuff feels natural and doesn't become old too early on, you know, like that's gonna be good with me. Like my main thing is, you know, the hope that they're able to stick the landing in the ways that any open world game can kind of fall apart.
Sure. Yeah, for me, and I think it'll be, if I was a betting man, something that's the difference for me personally of watching versus playing. Whereas when you're watching, I have the trailer running or the state of play running right now. When you watch something like Ghost for the first time, no less, really a lengthy gameplay, I feel like I start exploring the corners of the screen more than I will in the real game. You know, I'll be focused on Jin, I'll be focused on the action, the HUDs, what I'm using, my weapons, my stances, all that jazz. And so when I look around it, like the only thing that concerns me about it is that it feels not empty, but it, like, I'm just talking about the shots in general feel like they're very airy. Like there's a lot of not negative space because obviously there's so much detail in the grass. I mean, he's invading the camp right now as I look. I can't put it into words what about, but like when I was talking about when Tim asked and everybody's like, oh, 9s for review scores they could see it getting. I can see that, but I can also see it just being a really high 8 and being like that thing of just like, it's fun to play and it's awesome to do and you enjoy these things, but it just doesn't hit that level. It doesn't cross over that boundary, right? Of like, I think we're talking about, when I look at it, animation quality and character model quality and the colors and all these different things. It still doesn't look like an Assassin's Creed that is moment to moment Last of Us, if that makes sense. And I know that's impossible, but you know what I mean? In terms of the first party panache and polish to every moment of it. And again, I think that's because I'm watching it and I'm able to wander and I'm not in the moment. I would imagine when I get here, it's the same way I think, you know, with both Origins and Odyssey, beautiful games for Assassin's Creed. I think they're gorgeous and Sunsplash and you're running through and having a great time. The amount of times I've stopped that game, or Odyssey in particular, because I've had more experience with it, to take a photo in photo mode, and I start going for it, and it's like, ooh, that's a bad texture. Oh, her foot's not actually on the ground. Like, it's that kind of thing that I don't think this game suffers from. But as I'm now just like wandering the screen, it just isn't wowing me in every frame at every step. And I would imagine playing it'll be a different thing, but who knows? Because again, even right now, like when the mission ends and it says destroy the shipyard, and then the graphic floats away into flowers, like that's fucking awesome. Like if it's a style thing where I'm gonna get in there and feel this thing, back to your point of like the birds flying around and the wind and stuff, like I, as somebody who loved the exploration mode in Odyssey, rather than if you're not familiar in Odyssey, it asks you in the beginning, like, do you want to be in explorer mode or classic mode? Classic mode is the one where it's like, go talk to this guy, and the thing's just on the screen, like that's where you need to go. Whereas exploration mode is like, he's in this area to the northwest of this landmark or whatever. And again, it's pretty simple to find them, but that was a fun part where I liked going to the map and be like, where the fuck is that island? Find the island, figure out where I needed to go. Like that. Getting lost in the world to that degree in Ghost sounds awesome. Like I want that very much.
Run around. No, I'm definitely with you there. And like that's the thing that can kind of be hit or miss for me with open world games. Like I hate when an open world feels like a checklist. Like that's not necessarily my jam. Like I don't. And honestly, this might be the reason that I didn't get into the earlier Assassin's Creed games when I tried them out. Like I've never really vibed with the idea of, like, here's just a bunch of icons on screen and just go to the icons, check them off and clear them out. Like, that's not really the way that I like to engage the open worlds. Like, I do like to kind of feel like I'm getting lost in them and feel like I am, like, actually exploring, as opposed to like opening up a map and being like, all right, let me go to this icon to clear out this quest. And so, like, if it's able to deliver on that level for me, which it seems like from the state of play, the way that they've presented it seems to be going for more of the explorative experience rather than the checklist experience, then I'm all in.
Yeah. Really excited. Can't wait more. I mean, it's definitely can't wait for more. It's really a game that speaks to everything I like out of my open worlds and I like out of my video games. And obviously I love Sucker Punch. So we'll see.
Yeah. Same here. Greg.
Yeah.
You ready for item number 2?
I was born ready for item number 2.
Item number 2 is actually 3 different items because I've introduced a thing that I'm calling PlayStation Updates, which is basically quick hits. But I feel like PlayStation Update is the fun way to put it.
This again is, I think, it's fun talking about Volume 2 of PS I Love You live as we make it, right? And I think that's been the interesting thing where I was having conversations on Tuesday of last week, like I said, of, man, are you going to move the show? Like, it seems like there's always news that breaks on Tuesday. I'm like, well, there's always going to be news that breaks on Tuesday. And granted, when it was The Last of Us indefinite delay and we did a special episode, like, that's awesome.
Yeah.
I doubt that whenever PlayStation announces the PlayStation 5 event, that's going to line up with the PS I Love You. And I really doubt that's going to warrant a special episode. Because when they do come out and they say June 4th, like Grub's saying, right, it's going to be cool. They're not going to list games. They're not going to tell you a number of announcements. They're not going to do whatever. It's going to be, this is what it is. This is the time it is. And Games Daily will cover that, right? That's not like where we come in and stuff. But I do think it's important to recap the bigger news stories that have happened throughout the week. So if we are your one-stop shop for PlayStation news, you understand what's happening.
Yeah, and that was the exact thought I had behind PlayStation updates here, is that it's the thing that is the thing to keep you up to date, but not necessarily like us going like deep diving into just news totally. Items. And so the first one here, PlayStation Studios, is a thing now. I'm pulling this from gamesindustry.biz. They write, Sony has developed a new umbrella brand to unite its first-party PlayStation titles. The PlayStation Studios brand will go live in PS4 and PS5 games later this year, and will only be featured on games developed and managed by Sony Interactive Entertainment's Worldwide Studios organization. Alongside the logo, PlayStation has created a new opening video that will appear at the start of its games. The video features characters from Uncharted, Little Big Planet, God of War, Ratchet & Clank, Horizon Zero Dawn, and The Last of Us. Really cool stuff.
DKD playing it already right there on loop. Yeah, he's great at his job. You see it go.
Kevin's playing the opening animation, which very much has like a Marvel MCU kind of
totally.
To it.
Totally,
yeah.
right?
Which they reference in the interview in the
I saw the Games Industry Biz thing. They talked about it or whatever. It's more a bummer of like they announced it and they debuted it and they're like, awesome, it won't be on Last of Us Part 2 and it won't be on Ghost of Tsushima and it won't be like, what the fuck? Why?
Yeah,
like this seems like it would have been the perfect time to do all that and have it come out then.
Yeah, and I don't know if this is like we talked recently about like how PlayStation's plans have gotten shifted all over the place. Yeah, like between like the controller reveal and this Unreal Engine 5 demo and all these different things. I wonder like if this was supposed to line up with something specific, because I find it weird that they just don't hold this for the PS5 event, because you're not going to use this for your 2 upcoming games, right? Like why not just have this be like the thing where you are talking about like, and for PS5 we're going to have our first party titles, of course, to introduce our new first party lineup. Here's PlayStation Studios, right? Like I feel like that could have been just as big of a moment and a pop, and it would have been cool to see that there. But
now here's what I want to know as we talk about this. I was of course listening to Games Daily when you and Imran were talking about this. Mm-hmm. Have you come around on the fact it's going to be on way more than you think it's going to be on? I remember you guys going back and forth about games like, oh, well, it wouldn't have been on this. And I'm like, yes, it would have. It totally would have been on. It would have been on Death Stranding.
I think I was of the mind that's going to be on more games. I think Imran was sucks. Imran was of the mind that this would be only like on like the big first party games. But I think that I think you would have seen this on Concrete Genie and like.
Well, yeah, I mean for sure. I mean,
I feel like that's the go-to game. I'm reading from smaller PlayStation titles.
GamesIndustry.biz, right? They've got it up here. I'm reading. This is Christopher Dring. I'm reading from. Alongside games developed by Sony's first-party studios, such as Naughty Dog, Insomniac, Santa Monica, Media Molecule, and Guerrilla, the PlayStation Studios brand will also apply to games made by work-for-hire developers under Sony's direction.
Yeah.
So right there, right? Yeah, that would have been Death. That would have been Predator. Like this thing would have been all over the place. Like it's back to the argument.
Predator was the one that I think I was like, I don't know if I could have seen.
I think they're gonna get, once this goes live, I think they're gonna beat it like a government mule. They're gonna put it on anything that like, and it sucks for this argument that Insomniac's now already in the first party. Jesus Christ. I knew Jen was hacking at something back there. I didn't expect her to sneak up on me. She dropped some oranges here. We got some oranges.
Oh,
it's like I'm a kid just done with my little soccer game, and she's got the orange slices for me ready to go. It smells good. No, Insomniac, like, remember, this is back to the argument when Spider-Man was coming out and I was arguing it was second party and it was a second party game, and Insomniac on Twitter came back at me like, no, it's first party. Like second party doesn't exist anymore. Like if it's something that's being worked on and PlayStation's funding it, they treat it as a first party title. It's a first party game. So anything PlayStation publishes, I think, is going to have this thing. Is
PlayStation treating Predator Hunting Grounds the same way they treated Spider-Man? Like in terms of like their ownership of it? Because I always assumed that it was a thing that IllFonic probably like started of their own volition, or maybe it was like a thing where they approached Sony and they're like, oh yeah, approved, as long as this is a console exclusive, you can put it on PC or whatever. Like I figured that was more like a like partnership thing than a, hey, we're PlayStation, we're approaching Insomniac to make this game for us as a first party game.
I mean, publishing can go either way, but the TLDR on it is if you're publishing a game, you're publishing a game. And so whether, are they treating it the same way as Spider-Man? Are they treating Predator the same way they're treating Spider-Man? Of course not. Where are the Predator commercials? Where's this thing? Where's all, but that's a completely different argument of marketing budgets and projections and what that game could sell and what you think the ceiling is and how many people other than me and Nick give a shit about Predator. Of course. Like there's that argument to it, but I think dollars and cents, long and short of it, yeah, this is a PlayStation game. Like this would go on to it because it worked for higher developers under Sony's direction. If our this is Eric Limpel, of course, friend of the show. Mm-hmm. If our studios are managing the production of these games and working with an external developer, it will still come under the PlayStation Studios brand, Limpel details. It doesn't mean that we outright own the developer, but it just means we brought it up as a first party. In a lot of cases, we don't own the developer, end quote.
I guess that's fair. Like, do you know if PlayStation published Predator Hunting Grounds on PC also?
Yeah, I believe so.
Okay, then I guess that would make sense then. Yeah, I can see that.
Because I remember that being not a big deal. Hold on. You can keep going with your things. I'll keep looking into it.
The second PlayStation update is, of course, Iron Man VR has a date now, July 3rd. They tweeted that last week. They also had a quote here that I thought was interesting because they said in their tweet, please look forward to more news in the coming weeks. That's something that I missed when I first talked about this news on KFGD. That like they said, look forward to more news in coming weeks.
Yeah. Trailers? I mean, we haven't seen that game in a long time. Like it's been. When did I see it? I saw it at that one that was based around Gamescom. No, they're on that State of Play. When was that State of Play? Hold on. That was the March one. No, that was way earlier than that.
Yeah, I was gonna say for Iron Man VR.
Yeah. State of Play PlayStation. Click on the thing here. News and
one around Game Awards that had RE3.
No. That was the debut one. So September 25th. So it was the one around. No, that's not right. Hold on. Sorry. The thing shifted because of March 25th is when they did that. And I went and saw it. So you figure that was the last time we had a demo. Sorry.
When they debuted this game?
March 25th, 2019 was the reveal of Iron Man VR. And then like that afternoon, I went and played it along with a bunch of other VR stuff. So you figure, well over a year now, a year and 3 months pretty much since we saw, or no, a year and 2 months since you saw anything of it. So it's in the same way we're talking about this State of Play, or last week we were talking about this, we need to see something for Ghost. For Iron Man coming in July, you need to see something and get people hyped for that.
Yeah. And then lastly, Last of Us 2 is getting a mini doc series called Inside the Last of Us. Inside the Story is already up. That went up on May 13th. But then upcoming is Inside the Gameplay, which is May 20th this week. Inside the Details, which is next week, and then Inside the World, which is June 3rd. And so that's very exciting. I watched the first part, even though I've been trying to be somewhat media blackout on Last of Us Part 2. But at the same time, I was like, I just want to, I gotta see it. I gotta know.
It's the same way.
I gotta know.
I did the exact same thing. And it's like, I think at the very end, Neil started talking about something. I was like, I'm bouncing. That's enough. I've seen enough out of this. I don't need any more. Great idea. Cool thing they're doing. I'm glad they're doing it. But it is that thing of like, I don't want to see more. Just give me the game.
Yeah. How do you feel about how much PlayStation has talked and showed Last of Us Part 2? Because I've always been of the mind that they've not needed to they didn't need that last story trailer. They've not needed to go in terms of showing us what's
traditional video games, right? I feel we always get to this point and it's like, oh no, and now the story trailer, oh god, don't show us anything else. Like you're gonna get a launch trailer for that game still. It's the same way remember for Final Fantasy Remake, that trailer that dropped for that, and I didn't even watch it because I was still playing through it, and people were like,
"Oh yeah,
I'm reviewing this, and if you want this game not to be spoiled, do not look at this trailer." Like I was like, I'm not gonna even bother. Like,
yeah,
people always show too much. I think up until this point, it's been the right amount of stuff. You know what I mean? Where it was the giant demo I went and played with those 2 big sections. It was the first trailer, or it was the teaser trailer, then the real trailer, and then even this one. I don't think this last trailer would have been or was too much. It's then you partner it with the fucking leaks, and then it's like a different ball of wax on how much people know or don't know about this game.
Yeah,
I still think it's, you know what? I don't want to say what I don't know because I don't need people coming at me with more stuff.
Yeah, it's
so
like now you know.
I think they've done a judicious approach. They could have given you way more. They could have gone way more in depth with things. I think.
Yeah, that's for sure.
A good rollout.
That's for sure. The thing I'll commend them for is that, like, in none of the trailers and stuff I've seen for it, like this, they're not talking too much. They're like, you're still unsure about a lot of things that's going on in the story. Like, in fact, I couldn't necessarily lay out what is going on by any means.
Yeah, exactly. And that's how I want to be, right? Like, even knowing what I know and knowing the ending and all that stuff, like, I don't care so much about knowing the details of the ending. I want to know the journey there and where we go and how we get there and what this relationship turns into, or how that goes down this way, how the game starts, where, I mean, there's so much to go on with that game that can't wait to get it. But it's an interesting can't wait to get it, where it's not, I feel like, I'm trying to think of the last game, I guess like Animal Crossing, right? But there's games where I can't wait to play them, where I refresh my email, where I'm crazily checking it, right? Whereas like Last of Us, I know is coming. I know it's going to be great. I can't wait to play it. When I do, life will stop, and I will, if I'm not on a show or working on something for work, I will be playing it. But I'm not like ants in my pants, can't wait. Does that make sense? Like I mean, can't wait, but I'm not like where I've been. You go ahead.
I'm with you also. I don't know if it's from like the same sense, because I wish that somehow Ghost and Last of Us could switch places and I could just play Ghost first, because like Last of Us,
I think Ghost is gonna be a longer experience though.
But I think knowing what The Last of Us is about, and knowing how like Neil has talked about it, and them saying it's a story of revenge, and seeing all the trailers and stuff, like I'm just not in the mood for something that like harrowing and violent and stressful. Like I'm already like very, very stressed. I've been super stressed lately, especially like I don't necessarily, I'm not necessarily, like everybody is, but like I'm not necessarily like, I guess, prepared emotionally for it right now.
Yeah.
But like, I mean, when it's here, I'm of course gonna like, be all about it. But yeah, like it's definitely one of those ones where I'm like, I'll play it when I play it. Like I'll play it when it's here, but I'm not like thinking about it every day.
Yeah, exactly. I'm not thinking about it every day. That's a good way to put it. Yeah, it's interesting. Yeah. I'm excited.
Same here. Did you figure out were you looking up the Predator thing where they published it on PC?
I mean, it's published. I mean, yeah, like that usually publishing deals are broken up by region. And so yeah, I mean, it's published. By here. I guess I could go to the Epic Game Store, right? Epic Game.
I guess that would make sense. Yeah, if they.
But I mean, because I think it stopped being news of like
a PlayStation game is coming to PC.
Yeah, like, well, not even that. Like PlayStation Publish is coming to it. Here we go. Epic.com, Hunter B. Hunting, Game Continues. Let's do the thing. Yeah, publisher Sony Interactive Entertainment. Just how it is. Yeah. So yeah, in that case, yeah, the PlayStation Studios logo for sure would be at the beginning of it. I can see that. Clowning, I didn't know.
That's it for X's and O's, Greg.
Are you ready to talk about what you've been playing?
I am.
Well, before we do that, let me tell you about what our sponsor has been sponsoring. This episode of PS I Love You XOXO is brought to you by ExpressVPN. Being stuck at home these days, you probably don't think much about internet privacy on your own home network. Fire up incognito mode on your browser and no one can see what you're doing, right? Wrong. Even in incognito mode, your online activity can still be traced. Even if you clear your browsing history, your internet service provider can still see every single website you visited. That's why even when we're at home during these times, Kind of Funny has been using ExpressVPN. ExpressVPN makes sure your ISP, that's internet service provider, can't see what sites you visit. Instead, your internet connection is rerouted through ExpressVPN's secure servers. Each ExpressVPN server has an IP address that's shared among thousands of users. That means everything you do is anonymized and can't be traced back to you. ExpressVPN also encrypts 100% of your data with its best-in-class encryption, so your information is always protected. Use the internet with confidence from your computer, tablet, or smartphone. ExpressVPN has you covered on every device. Simply tap one button and you're protected. ExpressVPN is the fastest and most trusted VPN on the market. It's rated #1 by CNET, Wired, The Verge, and countless more. So, ladies and gentlemen, protect your online activity today with the VPN Kinda Funny Trust to secure our privacy. Visit the special link at expressvpn.com/PSILoveYou, and you can get an extra 3 months free on a 1-year package. That's expressvpn.com/PSILoveYou. expressvpn.com/PSILoveYou to learn more and protect yourself. And then we'll insert the sponsor there.
Our sponsor's been sponsoring.
Yeah, exactly. Kev. I'm fucking batting 1,000, all right? Blowing eyeballs to assholes, remember?
Whoa.
Here's where I'm going to start blessing, because you thought you were out of the big topic questions. For what you've been playing, I'm going to start with this question for you.
Oh, another
blessing. Have you ever loved a video game?
When you say it like that, it makes me think it makes me think you're implying something.
I don't mean like weird, creepy sexual stuff. No, I mean, have you ever loved a video game more than you knew was possible? More than you knew that you loved it? Has it ever caught you off guard how much you love a game? Because I love I've loved games my entire life, obviously. I can list a whole bunch of things and different experiences and yada, yada, yadas. This past week, I have been on an emotional roller coaster, I'll have you know, young sir, about video games, love, and the fact that I don't know what I'm going to have to do to my top games of all time list. All right. And not #1, God of War still there. Peace Walker's still up there. You know what I mean? But as we start getting into that top 5 or whatever, there's just a new entrant on the field here. All right. So like we talked about, we watch Ghost of Tsushima. We're like, this looks awesome. Looks a lot like Assassin's Creed. Of course, Valhalla, even though we haven't seen gameplay of it really, I thought looked great. And they've said all the right things about it. Rap battles, of course. I mean, I can't wait to play that and fuck up England. But I was that thing of like, man, this is making me want to play some Assassin's Creed. And so I popped in Assassin's Creed Odyssey again, right? Didn't pop in. It's on my dashboard. You're silly if you have discs. Come on. And I was like, you know what? I never finished the Legacy of the First Blade DLC. Let's go in there and hack at that for a little bit. Went in there. Turned out I was one mission away from the end. I did it. Cassandra did her thing. I don't want to ruin it if you're going to play it. Got her thing. Credits. It was over. I was like, oh, fuck. I was right there. And so then I was presented with, do I want to go do the Atlantis DLC right away? Or do I want to go finally give Assassin's Creed Origins a real shot? Because as you know, when Assassin's Creed Origins originally released, I started it, played maybe an hour of it, and was just like, this isn't hitting right now. I'll get back to it. Never got back to it. Went away. Everybody loves Bayek. Everybody thinks that him and his wife are great. Everybody thinks that game's great. And there's this big debate, obviously, if Origins or Odyssey is better, and people go back and forth all the time. So I was like, I'm in the mood for an Assassin's Creed. I'm in the mood to go in there. Let's pop in Origins and see what this is all about. I pop in Origins. I play. I didn't look at the game clock, but you know, like if you're an Origins fan in there, I mean, I'm working for Cleopatra. Like I've gone through. My wife's there. I've done all the things. Of course, I'm playing it. And I'm like, oh right, okay, this is what this is. I remember this in Odyssey. Oh, this okay, cool. Like you see all the systems that obviously predated Odyssey, but I credit to Odyssey, right? Because I'm actually in there dealing with them and seeing stuff. But the entire time I'm playing it, Bless. And I'm learning who Bayek is, and I'm enjoying it. Don't get me wrong. It's Assassin's Creed. I thought the enemies didn't seem as, not ferocious, but didn't seem as challenging, or at least on their toes as Odyssey villains things were. But maybe I'm just, whatever. I think maybe there's little changes there. Whatever, doesn't matter. Aggressive. That's a great way to put it. I'm playing through it, and I'm enjoying myself, and I'm into it. And, I'm slicing my fucking arm up, and I'm putting on cool outfits, and I'm running that kind of stuff. But I just can't shake it, Blessing. I just can't shake it that I feel like I am cheating on my girl Cassandra, because I am running around knocking out these things. I'm barely getting any trophies because the trophies pay off later in Assassin's Creed, obviously. But I'm running around and I'm synchronizing viewpoints and I'm checking the boxes and I'm doing the things and I'm playing the quests and I'm enjoying it. But I just can't shake it of why should I invest time into this game when I'm already 100 hours into the other game? Then there's still more content for me to do. There's all this Atlantis stuff to do. But I feel like I need to play more of Origins. I need to, go through it. I need to see more of it to understand the comparison. And again, Bayek is cool, but he is no Cassandra. And that's why in a fit of rebellion, Blessing.
What did he do?
I just turned off Origins and went back to Odyssey. And I just happily played fucking Odyssey all weekend long, running around Greece. This Atlantis shit's got me in fucking Elysium, doing all this crap over here. I'm synchronizing points. They changed the fucking system where you go through and I'm upgrading my staff so I can make the moves I was already using way more powerful and shit. It's so good. It's so good, Blessing. And
Top
it's the
5.
thing of like, I knew that I loved Odyssey. If you're a Kind of Funny fan, I know you heard me 2 years ago talk nonstop about Odyssey and Cassandra and all this stuff. I knew that I loved it, but goddamn, do I love it? Where like legitimately playing this one, where I was like, is Bayek, like there's something to it of, even though they're so surface level, the ability to choose what Cassandra says, and I know that was a big problem with people with like it got too RPG or whatever, made me so much more connected to her story, her world, the decisions in the game than it did in Bayek's. Where Bayek's I'm playing through and it's like, okay, cool, this is what's going to happen. This is how it's going to happen. This is the conversation, right? To be back into Cassandra's shoes, and granted, it's an unfair comparison because, again, we're comparing 100 hours of gameplay to 5 or 6 or whatever it was I did in Origins, right? And I saw somebody today, actually, because a lot of people are replaying both of these games right now or playing it for the first time. And so there's a lot of actually interesting Twitter chatter about it. And people talking, there was one guy who put it up of like, 1 hour into Origins, like what's happening? 5 hours in, okay, this cool. 30 hours in, oh my god, this is the best couple of all time. 100 hours. Like I get that, like it gets deeper and deeper, but it's totally that thing of like, I get that, but I like this, and I love Cassandra, and I love this fucking world, and I love like when the spoilers a little bit. They let me play as her brother for a hot second in one cutscene. I was like, damn, like I'm actually into this thing, and like the present world shit, which I usually don't care about in the DLC. I'm like, fuck, this is actually kind of interesting. I'm into this. Like, I don't know, man. I don't know, Bless.
Yeah, I love that.
Assassin's Creed Odyssey.
I love that. I love when games are a perfect storm. Like when, you could describe all the different mechanics and elements and all the things the game does right, but there's something about the way that it comes together in a way where like Odyssey and Origins, very similar games, but for some reason Odyssey is just like that one that is sticking. Like, I love that for you, one. But yeah, like I also feel like I'm getting that a little bit from Persona 5 at the same time. Where like the more and more I play, the more and more I'm like, God, I really just love this experience, and I don't want to stop, despite having now put in like 180 hours overall, if I include the time of the first game.
It's interesting because the way we're always on to the next thing, we're always covering these date-breaking events. There's always the next big game. I had forgotten, and I talked about it in probably a Gamescast, I guess, back when I did the Legacy of the First Blade stuff. There's a decision in there where there was a news story for sure too, if you remember, of for Legacy of the Blade to work, you have to have a child. And so the original run of that DLC, the story made it happen in a way that made, in my world, Cassandra fall in love with this guy. And that didn't jive with players, right? Who were like, I've had these things. Why would she do this? I've been playing her as, a lesbian, a gay character. Like, why would she do this kind of thing? And so they went in and they were like, you're right. Sorry, we fucked that up. They went in, did some story stuff to fix it or whatever. And I remember playing it however many years ago was when I played that part of the DLC and talking about it on a show of like, I was of the mind that I didn't really dig this guy. Like, you know what I mean? He wasn't jiving for me as Cassandra. So I was like, I'm not going to actually fall in love with him. But and this is so weird to say, and this is, I think, maybe my own, biases of Assassin's Creed games. But so weird to say that, like, the acting from Cassandra was so well done that when I initially turned him down and she went off on her own and started crying, I was like, oh, fuck, like I made the wrong choice. She does love him. And I thought about reloading the save. And then he came back for something to give you that final decision. And I picked for her to go with him. And it was that weird thing of like, that was one of the reasons I think I was so not gung-ho about doing more of the DLC is I really felt like I had like ended her story. Like there had been the happy ending credits roll for her, right? And so like I talked about it and done shows about it, but had forgotten that thing. So to get back to it and like, for this day and a half of the weekend, be playing nonstop pretty much, really be back in that world, back in her mind, and be like, oh right, like this was fucking awesome and dope. And like even seeing her now wrestling with the things she's wrestling with in the DLC that is like setting up the lineage of all the weird Assassin's Creed shit I barely understand because it's the far-flung past and the far-flung future and then her in the middle, like whatever. But what a fucking game, bless God. I just want to grind everything on and just keep going with stuff.
That's super awesome. How far are you from like 100%ing it?
So fucking far. That was my thing, is like when I had finished Legacy of the First Blade, I think last week on Games Daily, I mentioned, I did that. And like, I started the Atlantis stuff. And yesterday or Saturday, I guess, maybe it was yesterday, whatever. I was playing through and pop the trophy for like finishing the Atlantis stuff, and it's literally like you're about to open the door to Atlantis, and in your earpiece they're like, oh, this guy got shot or whatever, and you're like, all right, cool, it's weighted, I can wait, it can wait a little bit longer. Ended it, the trophy popped, and I was like, okay, cool, that's the end of episode 1 for the DLC for Atlantis. And then I was like, wait, where's episode 2? And I started searching around, and then I went into the store and noticed I had not downloaded episode 1, 2, or 3 of the Atlantis shit. And this was just like the prologue that would have ended if I had played normally and finished Legacy of the First Blade. This was going to be there for you to play to get you stoked for Atlantis. And so I was like, motherfucker. So there's like That's much awesome. Content. There's probably another fucking 50 hours of this goddamn game. Because I was running around playing and doing the other shit last night where it's like not even progressing the story. I'm in a new area. I'm running around doing the sync points again. I'm fighting a bunch of goddamn statues that come to life. Dynamite stuff, Blessing.
That's awesome.
What else have you been playing?
I jumped into Apex Season 5, Apex Legends, of course. Everybody knows it, Battle Royale, first-person shooter, all that stuff. I talk about it all the time. It's my game of the year last year. And Season 5 just dropped, and I've really been enjoying it. Like, it's one of those things where, you always wonder, like, what a game can add to make it feel fresh enough for you to jump back in, especially for a game like this, where, as a Battle Royale, I feel like after putting in so many hours into it, I'm like, okay, well, I've kind of gotten all the things that I've kind of wanted out of it. And for me, like, there was a point last season where I was like, all right, like, I played for another 8 hours. This was a fun time. I don't know, I feel like I've gotten all out of Apex Legends possibly that like I've needed to really get out of it. Jumping back in it for Season 5, like the changes that they made to really kind of bring it back, I think have all been excellent. Like they've added a new hero, or a new legend as they're called, named Loba, who like has like this great special ability where you can go into an area of the map and she has like a staff that she'll put down to the ground, and that becomes a market to where like anybody on your team can approach that staff, and all the items that are in that area are funneled through that staff. And so you can like then pick out like 2 items that you want. And so you don't have to necessarily like scavenge and go through the entire area for certain items. Yeah, like really, really cool idea and really good execution on that. But then she also has like another ability where like she like throws a beacon type thing and she teleports to it. She's really fun for what I played with her. Like, she is easy to use, which is like the thing that I'm kind of looking for out of a new character.
Like, I don't need to be pushed here. I don't need to be pushed.
Yeah, like when my mains right now are Bloodhound and Lifeline. And like it's very difficult for me to kind of branch out because like those characters I feel like are kind of all encompassing for the way that I like to play the game, and it's hard to kind of like I don't necessarily feel motivated to choose any other character because I feel so comfortable with them. Even when they add new characters, I'm like, I don't know. Like when they added Revenant, I tried out Revenant once and I was just like, yeah, I don't feel like learning a new character right now. Like, Revenant seems cool, but not necessarily something that I want to spend time, trying to figure out how to replay the game.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing, right? I feel like that's when you talk about a game as a service, an ongoing service like this, right? There's the different strata of players, and I am like you, where I find myself when I do connect with something, whether it be, Division's actually a good example. Yeah. When I went through the Division, I picked a specialization, and, DLC after DLC has added more, and I've never tried them. Because I'm like, guess what? I'm here for a good time, not a long time. Like, I'm not in this to relearn how to play, to earn all this shit again, to do whatever. I'm here to have fun and run the mission and get out. Like, I don't want to go in and regrind and learn and figure out how all my shit works together. Yeah,
Loba is a character that is a new character, and I actually do want to like play her more. And I do want to use her regularly. And so I think on that front, like they did such a good job of making her accessible, easy to figure out. But then like the potential with her character feels like, it feels like there's a lot there in terms of she's another character that they have these ultimate accelerant packs in the game that you use to like power up the ultimate for each character. Yeah. And usually like Lifeline is the character that you would give all the ultimate accelerants to, because Lifeline is able to call down a care package as her ultimate. It's super useful for the entire team. Loba is now one of those other characters where now like, since her ultimate is like that black market thing, right? Like, it's super useful for that. And so like the small changes that they've added with Loba feel like they're having large ripples in terms of how the whole game is kind of balanced out in that way, which I really appreciate. It's really cool. Kings Canyon is also back as like the main map, and they've added changes to it, which seem pretty cool. Like mainly they've like changed 2 specific areas of the map, like Skulltown, I believe, which is like Skulltown, which was like the most popular area in Kings Canyon, I believe got buried, and then like there's another area of the map that they changed up. And so like it doesn't the changes don't necessarily feel as substantial to the map. That said, getting rid of Skulltown, I guess, does like vary things up a bit in a way where like I used to drop at Skulltown half the time when Skulltown was a thing, and now it's not an option for me. And so like it feels fresh in that way also. And I've really been enjoying it. You know, I've really been liking it. They made like a lot of small tweaks and changes. Switched out the massive shotgun for the Peacekeeper, which like if you play Apex, like you know how bonkers that sounds. To anybody else, you're like, all right. But you know, for me, like now the Mastiff has become one of my main guns, which is awesome. But I'm playing that, having a great time with it. Persona 5 Royal, of course, been continuing on with it. I'm about 60 hours now, and I've actually reached a point because I finished the 4th palace. And I'm about to start getting into the events of the 5th palace.
Okay.
Here's the thing, Greg. For you,
my weekly update on how many hours you in one cat. Go ahead.
For you and for people who listen to the show, this might come as a surprise. You might want to strap in. You might want to grab something. I'm thinking about taking a break. I'm thinking about taking a break. Man. Not because like there's anything wrong with Persona 5 Royal. I've been having an absolute fantastic time with it.
Just admit you're done. It's over.
Because I'm at a point in the game where there's kind of a lull, like things are kind of chill right now. Like it's kind of a good like as I've been playing the game, I realized that early June, because Persona works on a calendar, early June was very eventful and very much like things were happening in early June. Now I'm in, I would say like August. Things were happening in June. I'm in August now, and I'm at a point in the story where it's like things are about to happen, but like right now for where I'm at, things are very like calm down. It's almost like a halfway point of the story where it's like it almost feels like a mid-season finale, like after the 4th palace. Like that's kind of the best way I can describe it, where like I have closure for where I'm at right now and things are about to start, but I don't necessarily need to start those things up right now. And the reason why I'm thinking about taking this break is because Last of Us Part 2 is coming June 17th, June 19th, July 17th is Ghost of Tsushima.
Very confusing.
Yeah, which means like we're probably gonna get codes at a certain point for Last of Us Part 2. I've not yet replayed Last of Us Part 1, like up to this lead up to Last of Us Part 2. Like I've beaten Last of Us 1 twice since its release, but I've not had my time with it recently.
Totally.
And I'm thinking I'm gonna take a break from Persona 5 to jump into Last of Us 1 and beat it again. That's my current plan. I'll report in next week to see how that goes, because who knows, I might relapse and get back in Persona. but for where I'm at right now, I might take a break, jump into Last of Us, get into Last of Us 2 when that comes out, and then maybe come back to Persona later in the summer.
I was having this conversation with Tim today. We were shooting the shit, doing some work stuff, and it was that conversation of like, he's like, yeah, I'm playing through it again right now, and I'm like, fuck, I know I just did the full playthrough with Nick, but it was like Nick was playing, which, you know, that I'm running the chat, I'm doing this, we're talking about beans, we're fucking around. Like, I feel like I'd like to go through and do one as well, but then I look at the schedule and like, you know, I don't know. I'd like to, but my concern is what if I start it and only get halfway through and then it's like, oh, that sucks.
That's also a thing for me too, but like, I figure I might as well try and see.
It went fast even for us doing the Let's Play, right? Where it was 3 hour chunks and we were done it in what, 6 times, 5 times? Yeah, 6 times.
Yeah, and that's my thing. Like, it's a fairly like, I mean, not quick game, but like
quick enough, right?
It's quick enough, right? It's a doable thing, you know, to beat this game in like a week or two.
Yeah,
very doable thing. And I feel like once I'm in it, like that'll be it. Like I'll be in it, and so that's the plan.
Godspeed.
I also played some Infamous First Light, which we both did.
I played Infamous First Light. Yeah. So if you didn't remember last week, ladies and gentlemen, somebody wrote in. They were like, "Hey, I'm about to come up on my 100th. Or was it 100th or first platinum? I forget which one it was. 75th. They were coming up on a milestone platinum.
I want to say 50th.
Goddamn. Hold on, I'm gonna open up the old document because we'll give credit to where credit's due. Hold on. I'm
putting money on 50.
You're putting money on 50? Yeah, I'm gonna say 75. Hold on. These shows are big. They get bigger every week. Hold on. Scroll down. Scroll. And last week, 50th.
Yes.
Fuck. Liam was coming up on his 50th. Muppet lead. And he wanted to know what would be a good... Oh, actually, hold on. Control Shift T. Liam was coming up on his 50th Platinum Trophy last week. He asked us, hey, what should I platinum? Remember, I don't have all the time in the world. I have a life here or whatever. Liam's exact thing was, you name the game, either a PlayStation 4 or Vita, and I'll do it. I only asked that it has no stupid multiplayer trophies. I have no friends, and it doesn't take 100 hours to beat, as I have a 20-month-old daughter and limited time. Other than that, any game, any genre. I'm opening up Muppet Lead. So what we said was, we just gotten done with our whole, hey, everybody, let's talk about what we should do for... let's talk about PS Plus games. If they've gotten better, if they've gotten worse, what are hidden gems? And we mentioned, of course, the fact that Infamous First Light was indeed something you could have gotten if you had gone out and done it via PS Plus. I'm happy to report that, in fact, yes, Muppet Lead did it. Right here, Infamous First Light is his trophy right there. I see it. Platinum trophy is done. Congratulations. His noble achievement, here it is. I'm on psnprofiles.com, of course. 50th platinum he got 2 days ago, the noble achievement in Infamous First Light. When we said this, we were like, you know what? I stopped early because I didn't like the challenge rooms. I'll come back. Bless was like, I enjoyed it too. And we're like, it's homework. Everybody go out there, try to get the Infamous First Light platinum. So many of you did. Tweeted us your photos. Thank you very much.
A lot of people did.
Over here, meanwhile, I turned it on and went into it, and I was like, oh, right, I really fucking hate these challenge rooms. Like, I just don't think they are fun at all. And so what I did was jump in there, not know how to fucking play the game, be like annoyed. Then I was like, okay, wait, I have open world challenges left to do. Went back, ran around saving hostages, blowing up APCs as fetch, having a great time, just loving that open world. And I was like, cool, I'm back in the swing of it now. I'm going to go back to the challenge rooms. And I went back to the challenge rooms, and I was like, man, I fucking hate this. I hate not just being able to play the game. I came into Infamous to play in an open world and do crimes and be a superhero. And here I am in Augustine's stupid fucking rooms fighting these electric dudes. And I quit. I was just like, you know what? It's one of those things where I can sit here and I can make it happen and I can struggle through and I can hate my weekend. I can hate every night not doing this, or I can go be Cassandra and have a great time. And I said, I'm going to go be Cassandra.
Yeah, I had literally the exact same experience where I jumped into it, and I think I mentioned on the show last week that I remember liking the challenge rooms from Infamous First Light, and so when I hopped into the game, I cleared out the open world stuff that I had remaining, and then I made it to a point where my remaining trophies all could pretty much be done by doing challenge rooms, and I switched over to the challenge rooms, and I was very excited to do it, to jump in and start knocking them out, and then as I played, I was like, I think I like the challenge rooms because I wasn't trying for the trophies. Now I'm actually trying for the scores. I am very frustrated trying to play these things, especially. I think honestly, my main complaint is that there's not a solid health bar. The way the health is determined is that it does a thing where it fades out color, and so the more black and white it gets, the more close you are to death. And there are so many points where I kind of had a question, really, that's the last. That's the hit that killed me. That's the bullet that killed me. Really that one. And at a certain point that just got way too frustrating for me. And I was like, nope, I'm not doing this. No, I'm not making it happen.
Liam wrote into patreon.com/kindoffunnygames and says, hey, Greg and Blessing, after writing in last week with my PSN and subsequently getting my 50th platinum trophy in Infamous First Light, I found it interesting to hear that you tried to go back after doing it, but the challenge rooms bounced you out. I couldn't click with them earlier. I couldn't click with them either at first. After enjoying the fantastic little story and open world traversal, the waves of demon assholes was a little bit of a come down. Despite this, I had fun with it, enjoyed getting the plat. My question is, though, have you ever had games you've really enjoyed, but when you decide to go for the plat, and there are specific trophies or maybe modes that you are forced to go through that kill it for you and stop you from getting in? Real quick, Liam, shout out for being the guy. Of course, this is you. Who I just dug through the fucking files to find you from last week. You're right here is the question I picked. I didn't realize that you were the guy. I just thought, oh yeah, this guy also got the First Light, because a bunch of people wrote in about the First Light platinum. Anyway, shout out to you, Liam. I mean, outside of Infamous First Light, which again is a game I really fucking dug that I wanted to do it. There's tons of games that I think the platinum sucks at, and it just isn't stuff I want to do. And I mean, I know I've talked about it, and we'll be very interested to see in the coming weeks how it nets out for the sequel. But The Last of Us trophy list, I hated. God, I hated that. You know what I mean? What a great game. And I just didn't want to play multiplayer. It's back to this where I understand, first off, a lot of people love Last of Us multiplayer. I'm not trying to say it's bad. It's just not what I wanted from that game. And so it is that idea of, in the same way, First Light, wow, this story's great. And I love running around Seattle. Now go into these challenge rooms and shoot these fuckers. Okay, I guess, but that's not why I play this game. I hate it when there's a trophy list and there's a game that is the main game, and then all of a sudden it wants you to do something that isn't it. It's why it's so interesting with Last of Us trophy list that I thought Uncharted's trophy list did so well, especially when they introduced multiplayer. It wasn't get to level 100 or whatever in multiplayer. It was play a match of team deathmatch, play a match of whatever the fuck, right? And then DLC added in all sorts of stuff. If you wanted to play more of the multiplayer, go for it. But you could get the platinum without having to like multiplayer. That's how it should be. What's the core of your game? Let's make the trophy list around that and then give you little things to go do. But our things of try this will usher you into it.
Yeah, Final Fantasy VII Remake will always be kind of my answer for this, as far as like a game where like I would have platinumed this game if they didn't have like this one trophy. And it is like the fact that I have to beat that game on hard mode, which isn't unlocked until after you beat the game on normal mode. And the hard mode just being very difficult, like it being like truly hard, right? Like you not being able to use, I think, items, like healing items, which is like a thing that I was very much relying on during my normal playthrough, made me not want to chase it, even though like I really wanted to spend time with it. Like I really wanted to like play that game past where I beat it, but the trophies weren't like the trophies weren't the thing that were going to keep me in that game, because I know that I'm
the fun thing about trophies is that everybody has an opinion about them, and like outside of, I don't even give a shit about trophies if you're one of those people and you're wrong. But like for me especially, hey, replay the game on the hardest difficulty. Hey, grind your face. You know what I mean? Like that's shit I hate doing. And it's like, for back in the day, right, on PS3, Ghostbusters, the video game, had a bunch of bullshit multiplayer trophies, some of which were glitched. And I started trying and I was like, you know what? I'm not going to do this. It's too random. When they announced it for PS4 remastered, I was like, fuck yeah, no multiplayer. Let's go. And then I started playing the game on the fucking hard mode and literally like couldn't get, I kept dying at the part where you're like walking up to the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man. Like you're walking down this block of New York and you're just getting fucked up by ghosts. I was like, this isn't fun. Like, I don't want to do this because it's not fun. And like, I've since looked at like a trophy guides online, and I guess there's a workaround to where you can play the game and then come back and through level select. And it's just like, even that just doesn't sound fun. I like that game, right? I love that game. Like, I don't want to play that game and be fucking annoyed with it and hate my experience with it and grind it out and be annoyed at the very end of it.
Yeah, that's my exact same thing too. Especially as somebody who, like, I'm not necessarily a trophy hunter. But if I really enjoy a game and I want to play more of it, that's when I start thinking about getting the platinum. And like that's how I got the platinum in Shadow of Mordor. That's how it happened for Spider-Man. And for most of the trophies I've gotten. And so like for Final Fantasy VII Remake, which is a game that like I very much wanted to do it in, the fact that like I looked at that trophy list and was like, nah, I'm good. That to me is not a good trophy list.
Yeah. Outside of First Light, the other thing I'm supposed to be playing is Pong Quest on PlayStation 4, of course. My game for 104 PSN games ranked. If you didn't remember, ladies and gentlemen, of course, each week, Bless and I read through the drop on the blog. We tell you what's coming this week, and we each pick a different PSN game to play. Then we report back the next week and rank the games in one ridiculous list that you can keep up with on kindafunny.com/104list. The rules are simple. We can't pick the same game. We can't pick something that's AAA, and it can't be something we were going to play anyway. Right now, the top 10 look like this. Number 1, Telling Lies. Number 2, John Wick Hex. Number 3, Streets of Rage 4. Number 4, Under Night in Birth EXE. Number 5, Round Guard. Number 6, Darwin Project, which development's no longer happening on. Number 7, Hidden Through Time. Number 8, Kamiko. Number 9, Foxyland 2. Number 10, Snaky Bus. I, of course, like I said, picked last week Pong Quest, a game where it's Pong, but it's an RPG, and shockingly, it just did not come out.
Really?
It just didn't come out. It's listed on the blog for May 15th. On May 15th, it did not come out. I checked this morning. It had not come out. When you check right now on Pong Quest PS4, it is not out. And I have seen nothing. The PlayStation blog usually goes through and it'll put a strike through the line and be like, oh, this game, didn't come out, or it's been delayed, or you'll see it slip to the next week. Nothing. There's been no word about where Pong Quest is. I think I'm the only person probably in the world looking for Pong Quest right now. But Pong Quest MIA. And I noticed it over the weekend when I was like, oh, I got to get my PSN game. I never got, because I requested a review code and never got anything back. I was like, oh, I'll just go buy it. Never saw anything about it. And by that point, I was too into Assassin's Creed. So I was like, you know what? Pong Quest gets to just hang out. If Pong Quest is now a nebulous, whenever I see it come to the PSN, I will do it and put it into my games played and rank it for you. But for now, nothing I can do, Wes. I tried.
That's really funny.
What you had 104 PSN game from last week. What'd you get?
I got Hunt Down, which what a fantastic game. I want to read the description here. Yeah, dude, it's fantastic. The description they have on the PS blog, which we read last week, but I want to read it again to like paint a picture for people, right? Like,
do.
The blurb says this: In the mayhem-filled streets of the future where criminal gangs rule and cops fear to tread, only the bounty hunters can free the city from the corrupt fist of felony, lay waste to the criminal underworld, and make a killing in this hard-boiled action comedy arcade shooter. To basically boil it down, right? To paint an illustration, right? Think a 2D side-scrolling Super Nintendo era shooter where basically in each level you're taking down like a gang leader. That's like, it's very the Warriors vibe. If you've watched the Warriors, right, where like each of the gangs has like a specific like thing, has a specific style, has a specific name, and each gang has like a leader that you're trying to take out. And so basically in this game you're going from level to level, playing these shorter 2D shooter levels, taking out like gangs and all this stuff, right? But then getting to the end, which like it's like probably like 3 or 4 minutes per level. You get to the end, and at the end of each level is a boss fight where you're taking out like that main bounty, the main villain, and it is super fun, right? Like it's akin to things like yeah, I'm trying to think of what to like compare it to, because like Contra comes to mind, but like Contra, you're more like you don't really have health that much health in Contra, right? It's like Contra is more so like a one shot and you lose a life kind of thing, whereas this game is very much like all the characters are more beefy in terms of health, and there's very much like an 80s action comedy vibe going on.
Sure.
The game has an excellent soundtrack, has excellent presentation. The 16-bit pixel art looks dope, and yeah, like the thing that I think for me really brought this game together is that like mechanically it's super solid. Like it basically has cover based shooter mechanics in this 2D setup, and so like there are walls, or they're like alleys, and there are like crevices that you can hide behind in order to like dodge bullets. There are boxes that'll be in a level that you can duck under in order to dodge bullets. And so it's basically like a third person cover shooter in that sense, but in 2D. I guess a second person cover shooter. I don't know, man. But like that stuff worked really well. There are voice lines that are super awesome and super entertaining. Like the game has such a great sense of humor, and it knows exactly what it is, and it's like not afraid to kind of like be quirky and kind of fun within that. Each of the bosses that I fought had their own gimmick, right? Like one of the bosses had was like a rocket launcher kind of dude, and that was like his primary thing, is that like, you know, I can't remember any of the names because they're all ridiculous, but like his name will be like Blow Up Man, for example, and he's like the boss of the Blow Up gang, and like they're all about rocket launchers. And then you get to the next level, and it's like, all right, this is like the baseball. Use the baseball grunts, and all like the gang is themed after like baseball. And then you get to the boss, and he has like a baseball bat, and like, you know, he has like a baseball themed like moveset. They do such a good job like making each moment kind of interesting in that way, and like introducing like, you know, new enemies, new stuff continually. Like, you know, as a game, like it's super fun, super solid. Honestly, I'd recommend anybody check it out and try it out. Like I was surprised by how much fun I had with it. All
right, well, where do you want to rank it?
I'm putting it above Darwin Project for sure.
Okay.
Which puts it at least at number 6. And so then I don't think I'm gonna put it above Under Night in Birth EXE Lake Clear. And so I guess the question for you is, how do you feel like it stacks up against Round Guard in terms of the way I've talked about it?
You sold me on it more than Round Guard. I think Round Guard's a really fun, you know, Peggle game with the RP or the roguelike mechanics or whatever, and is, you know, cool. But like Round Guard was, I think I even said like, oh yeah, I had a great time with it, and I could see me coming back to it. I haven't been back to it. Now, granted, there's been other things to play, but like in the same way, like I am going to get back to John Wick Hex, right? Like I want to chip away at that. Like Hunt Down, you have me excited to actually try. Yeah,
and Hunt Down is a game I would like legitimately, like, you know, in this segment or not, I would say, yo, people should check this out because this game is actually like really fun. Yeah, like it's excellent.
All right. Well, Blessing, the date is in fact, as we record, May 18th, meaning that you get to pick the next game. So are you ready to read the drop?
I am ready.
I will start. Out this week on the PlayStation Network is A Fold Apart on PlayStation 4 Digital. In a world of folding paper, there are two sides to every story. After career choices force them along separate paths, a teacher and architect vow to make their long-distance relationship work at any cost. Experience both sides of their story as the couple navigates the complexities of miscommunication and the emotional ups and downs that separation brings.
Concept Destruction is coming to PS4 digital. Concept Destruction is all about driving miniature cars made of cardboard and crashing them into each other to earn points by destroying them. Pick from several different modes that suit your playstyle. Pick Championship mode if you want to fight your way through mass production, or choose Survival mode to see how long you can survive a wave of deadly cardboard cars.
Dungeon of the Endless comes to PlayStation 4 digitally. Dungeon of the Endless is the award-winning roguelike dungeon defense game in which you and your team of heroes must protect the generator of your crashed ship while exploring an ever-expanding dungeon, all while facing waves of monsters and special events as you try to find your way out.
Fault Milestone is coming to PS4 digital, out May 22nd. Fault is a series of science fantasy cinematic novels using a unique 3D camera system for a visually immersive reading experience. Follow Selphine, the bubbly princess, and her sharp-witted royal guardian, Rotona, on their journey of a lifetime back to their homeland of Rugenhide, which I've said before on the drop, and so I don't know if this is like a new entry or if this is like a
over. I don't know. You're right. I do remember
Yeah.
Rugenhide. Maybe just time. So this quarantine is so flat of a time circle now. We're just saying.
we've now repeated.
Fluxteria comes to PlayStation 4 digitally. Welcome to Fluxteria, non-stop arcade space shooting action in full 3D. 4 modes of play: story mode, survival mode, time to mode attack, and obstacle race mode. 14 different types of enemies, 20 different levels, and beautifully stylized science fiction setting, crystal clear shooting and blasting sound effects, heart-thumping music.
14 is a very accurate number, but I appreciate it.
It's just a fact sheet. It's just a fact sheet.
14 different enemies. Golf with your friends coming to PS4 digital. Why have friends if not to play golf with your friends? Nothing is out of bounds as you take on 9 courses filled with fast-paced, exciting, simultaneous mini golf for up to 12 players.
Gorn comes to PlayStation 4 digitally. Gorn is a ludicrously violent VR gladiator simulator. Savagely strike down an infinite supply of poorly animated opponents with all manner of weapons, from swords, maces, and bows to nunchucks, throwing knives, massive two-handed warhammers, or even your blood-soaked bare hands.
Gunman Clive HD Collection is coming to PS4 digital out May 22nd. Jump and shoot your way across diverse and challenging levels and fight massive bosses. Gunman Clive is an old-school side-scrolling action platform game set in the Old West. Bring out your inner cowboy and get ready for some real gunslinger action.
Maneater is out on PlayStation 4 digitally and retail May 22nd. Experience the ultimate power fantasy as the apex predator of the seas, a terrifying shark. Maneater is a single-player open-world action RPG, shark PG is how they put it, where you are the shark. Devour nutrients to grow and evolve far beyond what nature intended. Become a massive shark, an apex predator of legends, to get revenge on the cruel fisherman that dismembered you. Eat, explore, evolve.
Mechstermination Force is coming out for PS4 digital. Battle against massive bosses, jump and climb onto them to find their weak spots and blow them to kingdom come in this action-packed platforming boss rush from the creator of the Gunman Clive series.
What did Gunman Clive's like fucking exclusivity just expire? And he's like,
I was gonna say. What a throwback.
Monstrum is on PlayStation 4 digitally out May 22nd. Set on a derelict cargo ship, you have to outsmart one of Monstrum's terrifying predators as you try to escape. With a procedurally generated environment and permadeath, it's up to you and your wits to stay alive or start over against another monster. Good luck. Start running.
Set in the Gunman Clive universe. Saints Row the third actually that's AAA, so I'd probably just get that one. But Saints Row the third remastered
out, sure.
Coming out. Superhero X PS4 digital out May 18th. Superhero X is the only 2.5D create your own fighter fighting game of its kind, with a free flow combo system, a unique 3-point evasive countering system, and the ability to mix and match fighting styles with power-ups to create your own original characters.
I had to check because it's like Superhero X sounds like it's up my alley. When you put Superhero X into Google, you get this phonics learn to read Superhero X. Oh, and I think I might have found it here. Oh my god, no!
Superhero X also very much seems up my alley too.
Oh,
no. So don't get your hopes up because I might.
Oh,
I might scoop that up.
Okay, no, Kevin, don't show anything about it.
I'm seeing the phonics though right now.
Don't show anything. Don't look. Stop looking. Trailmakers comes to PlayStation 4 digitally. It's out May 21st. Build a car, a plane, a boat, or maybe a car, plane, boat. With Trailmakers Intuitive Builder, it is easy as snapping together real building blocks. Take your machines on dangerous exploration missions, breakneck rally races, or go to the sandbox and build that hovercraft you always dreamt about.
And then lastly, the Wonderful 101 remaster is coming to PS4, which I don't think counts. So
I don't think Wonderful 101 needs any. People know Wonderful 101 that you should play it probably. I liked it on Wii and I never played it on Wii or Wii U, so I'm hopeful to play it here. Blessing.
What up?
This is your day.
So wait, what's the order with Superhero X? Is it bad or good?
I don't want to tell you.
Hold on.
No, do not do it. Don't do it.
Because it sounds really cool and it sounds like something I want to play.
Please pick it then and let me show you after you pick it. Because maybe it's going to be great. You don't know what I'm going to say.
Oh, man. Because it's a fighter.
It might also not be the same thing. It might not be the same thing.
I'm going Superhero X. I'm choosing it because like a 2.5D create your own fighter fighting game with a free flow combo system, a unique 3-point evasive countering system, and ability to mix and match fighting styles.
It sounds like a real winner.
Superheroes.
Please show him.
Oh, what have I done?
I don't know if this is really the game, but it's the only Superhero X video game thing I can find, which
this can't be it.
Superhero X fighting game Android gameplay is what it says here from the Android. And it is Wolverine's body, including the claws, with Batman's head. And it looks awful.
Oh my God.
It makes sense, right? It's a 2.5D superhero fighting game. And it also makes sense because the art is so terrible. I got excited, of course, superhero in the title, Superhero X, but then it's just the word superhero with a giant X behind it.
Yeah, the title art doesn't seem very promising, but looking at the gameplay, I understand why you wouldn't have a screenshot of the game.
I mean, I can't this is one you might have lucked out on because eventually somebody at PlayStation is going to listen to this show and look into this game and be like, we can't publish this. That's Batman with Wolverine's body. Someone will stop us, right?
That's really funny. I can't wait to play as Batman though. With Wolverine's body.
Free flow combat. I'm going to pick Maneater.
Oh,
this is one I know Snowbike Mike is all about. Maneater. This is one Jonathan Dornbush picked actually in the league for the PS I Love You XOXO Fantasy Critic games. So I'm excited to get that. Huh?
When's the last time we checked out that league?
That's actually what we're doing next. That's actually a segue to it. You know what I mean? So Maneater's my pick. You're picking Superhero X because you love punishment. And
I want to shout out Gorn, which is that PSVR game, because I forever ago I watched a Funhouse Let's Play of it where they're probably playing it on Oculus or something, and it seems actually like a pretty fun experience. So shout out to Gorn, and then a Fold Apart also I've heard good things about.
Fold Apart, if you remember, I warned you. I played it and I didn't like it. I played it on the Switch, remember, and I brought it up on what I had been playing or whatever. And I was like, whatever. Granted, maybe it's just not for me, but it's like the folding puzzles I didn't dig.
I did see somebody else on Twitter talking it up, but then I remember then immediately hearing you say that you didn't like it, and so.
It'll be interesting how it runs because I was playing it on Switch and it didn't look good or run well. So, is it going to be fine on PS4 or is it going to be a bad port and not do it as well? Who knows? But as you bring up, yes, ladies and gentlemen, a long time ago, we had our friends Geo, of course, now of Predator Hunting Grounds, Ilphonic, Jonathan Dornbush, Podcast Beyond, and Callie from the one and only GameSpot come by and do the Fantasy Critic thing. You can go to kindafunny.com/PS League to see what's happening. It's a segment where we all went over to fantasycritic.games, which you can do. Made a fantasy draft for video games where we could all draft games that weren't remakes or remasters, weren't already out in some early access form, and then see who would actually net out here in the end. So as we jump in here to update it, there's actually been a lot of movement, Bless, because we haven't been in here in a while. Right now, we actually have points on the board. So in first place at the moment is Geo with Big Belly Games. He currently has 29.53 points. Callie's behind him with 18.05. You, Blessing, are there in third place, 15.41. I am in fourth place with 8.03. And then Dornbush has a big goose egg on the game. Of course, what happens is as the games get reviewed, you get points for how many points above 70 they are, or you lose points based on how many below 70 there. That makes sense, right? Yeah. On top of that, we have a budget of $100 that we can spend on drafting games throughout the years. They get announced or whatever we want to do. Right now, both Gio and Callie have not touched their $100. Yeah. Probably not thinking about this after they left.
I was gonna say, what are the chances that you think they remember that they did this?
I'm more impressed that Dornbush has been making moves. You have $95, Dornbush has $95, and I have $98. However, looking at, I want to give you some where the points are coming from, right? So right now, I have one game that's reviewed. It's Blood Roots. It had a 78, so that got me my 8 points. Meanwhile, you, Blessing, have 2 games on the board. Neo 2 earned you 15 points. Guilty Gear Strive will not release, according to this, and gave you 0 points.
Wait, what?
I'm just telling you
what a way to receive that news.
I'm sorry about that. Yeah. Callie, with her first pick, took Final Fantasy VII Remake. That earned her 18 points because it has an 88 on Open Critic right now. However, she is a 0 for Skull and Bones, which apparently won't release this year either. And then where it gets interesting, of course, Gio in the lead right now because he's had the most games released. Gio only has 2 more games right now that could earn him points. He has a total of 30. Here's where it breaks down. Doom Eternal earned him 19 points with an 89. Resident Evil 3 has 9 points for him with a 79. Because life isn't fair. And as you all know, as I've said for years, gaming journalists are bought and paid for and suck. Predator Hunting Grounds has a 57, which is ridiculous and bullshit. I digress. On Open Critic right now.
Miller, you're cutting out a lot.
He unplugged his microphone.
Oh. To be dramatic, or?
He was very upset about the.
Exactly.
He was very upset about Predator Hunting Grounds, which I understand.
57, which means it's negative 13 points. Yeah, you goddamn right. You have fun with this game. This game you made a 57, Bless.
I came very close to choosing this as my counter pick, and now I regret it. I didn't want to choose it in front of Gio Corsi because here's the thing: I understand how unfair the video game media industry is.
Yeah,
I didn't want Gio Corsi to feel that in his face, though. You know, but now I regret it.
Yeah, he should have, obviously. Who knew nobody had taste? The Simon Cardy kid at IGN never played a fucking video game that ain't fucking Overwatch.
I heard all he plays is Overwatch.
Coward. However, Gio picked Streets of Rage 4 as well. Actually, getting that at a steal at number 5. It was his 5th pick. He earned 14 points off that. So that's how he got to 30. In Gio's roster, he still has to Marvel's Avengers and Ghostwire Tokyo. And I would not hold my breath for Ghostwire Tokyo, but we'll see.
Yeah.
And then Dornbush has 0 points on the board, but since I'm gonna read through his entire list of games because I actually forget where it picks up that he got new stuff. He has Ghost of Tsushima, Watch Dogs Legion, the Batman game from Montreal, Spelunky 2, Assassin's Creed Valhalla, Psychonauts 2, Little Nightmares 2, Maneater, The Pathless, SpongeBob SquarePants, Battle for Bikini Bottom Rehydrated, and Destroy All Humans. He only has 2 roster slots left there. So right now, 0 points on the board, but you imagine Ghost of Tsushima, a great pick. Valhalla, a great pick. Maneater, like I said, I've heard good buzz about, so I think more on people were reviewing it.
Interesting one.
SpongeBob, yeah, it's interesting how this is all going to net out.
Yeah, did you see that I had some new picks?
Yeah, well, I don't know when you added them though. So Blessing's roster looks like this right now: Cyberpunk 2077, Iron Man VR, Neo 2, which is again earned him 15 points. Lego Star Wars, the Star Skywalker Saga, Tales of Arise, Guilty Gear Strive, 0 points, not releasing. Fall Guys Ultimate Knockout, Call of Duty 2020 unannounced, Babylon's Fall, Mortal Shell, and Ghost Runner.
Yeah, so the 2 new ones are Mortal Shell and Ghost Runner. Ghost Runner I got literally this last week, I want to say. And that was because like there was a demo that dropped for it on PC and people seem to receive that super well. And that game's coming out to PS4 later this year. And so there you go. Be on the lookout for that.
I appreciate you out there making moves. Yeah. I think the only thing I've added, I forget how many, we had 5 or 6 when we started this. 6, I think. Right?
6.
All I've done, I added Outriders to mine.
Yeah.
I mean, it's that thing where we're in this weird holding pattern. Let's see what, the launch lineups look like for Xbox and PlayStation 5. Let's see what we got going on. Or I guess PlayStation 5. Let's see what the launch lineup looks for PlayStation 5. See what's going to close up PS4.
That's the big thing for me is that I was nervous trying to pick anything before E3. Yeah. But I figure with the lockdown now, I'm like, well, everything is kind of up in the air. I might as well pick some, I might as well pick up Ghost Runner, because I know I don't know it's gonna be 2020, but it has a date on it still. It hasn't been pushed yet. I imagine there's some confidence if they're releasing a demo, and so I might as well start claiming things now before it's too late.
Well, there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Again, you can keep up with us on the show, obviously, but if you want a more up-to-the-minute thing, kindafunny.com/PS League, we can see how it all shakes on down. Well, I got Minecraft Dungeons coming up soon, too. Yeah. Wait, do I? I didn't say that. No, I didn't read my list. That's why I'm confused by it. I'm excited.
That's the part 2. It's gonna make a big splash, probably.
Yeah, my number 1 pick. Let's see how that goes. See how we net out there, because I have a lot of my berries in that basket. You know what I mean, Kevin?
Yep.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have a segment here called PSN Profiles, where we go and look at your PlayStation trophies, decide if you are worthy of our claps or our claps in the bad way, because you have claps in good ways. You know what I mean?
Wait, what? The claps in the bad way?
You go to patreon.com/kindafunnygames. You can go to patreon.com/kindafunnygames. Give us your PSN profile name. We'll read it here along with your little story and see what's going on. Today, Probably Oliver wrote in. Probably Oliver's PSN name is Probably Oliver. Probably Oliver says, "What's good, Greg and Bless? I'm submitting my profile for this week's trophy dive, and I'd say it's kind of topical. Infamous First Light was my first ever platinum, and it awakened something inside me. I'm now sitting on 79 of those beautiful platinum lads, with some of the proudest ones being Bloodborne, GTA 5, Doom, and the Crash Bandicoot remake trilogy. I also have a bunch of trash platinums, thanks Greg, including Storm Boy, which might be literally the worst game I've ever played. I 100% recommend it to anyone and everyone. I don't know what Storm Boy is. Kevin, can you?
Yeah, I've never heard of Storm Boy.
I'm going to keep going through his trophies here. Can you find me some that Storm Boy game?
You know it, boss.
Thank you. I want to see what his other 7. So he did the Final Fantasy 7 remake, Resident Evil 3, Doom Eternal, Control, Medieval, Assassin's Creed Revelations, Fallen Order, Disney classic games, Aladdin, and The Lion King. That can't be easy. Final Fantasy 8, Far Cry 3, Division 2, Storm Boy. What the hell is Storm Boy? I usually know shitty platinums.
The thing that's interesting to me about their profile is that they didn't have a PSN apparently until October 2014.
Oh wow!
Which is like, you know, I guess for me as somebody like that had a PS3, it's shocking to me to see that like, yeah, they didn't start gaining trophies until October, but they might have had an Xbox. Who knows?
Okay, looking here at the Storm Boy trailer, 2 best friends. Oh Jesus! Running on the beach. We got a pelican. Yeah, it's a pelican and a dude. Explore the South Australian coastline.
Oh,
water. It doesn't look terrible. Yeah, I'm surprised. Not that, I mean, you know, obviously games can be bad and look good, but I mean, it doesn't look great. Oh, look, he's a friends with the pelican though.
This actually looks pretty.
Colin Field, Storm Boy the game, November 20th, PlayStation 4. All right. He's got the Stick of Truth in here. He's got Jack and Daxter. He's got well, he's got the good ones. Here's the first one I see. Tales from the Borderlands pop up. I'm surprised you don't have more of the garbage. Telltales, just play through it. Got the volume platinum, very nice. Mike Wiffle, what up? Yeah, but there's Infamous First Light.
The Witness in a week and 2 days. That's actually really impressive.
All right. Well, I appreciate this and I applaud you, and I'm glad, probably Oliver, that you started it all with Infamous First Light, a game that me and Blessing were like, nah. You do your thing, Sucker Punch, but we don't want these challenge rooms in the least. Stick to what we like about the game.
Hope you don't have challenge rooms in that.
Now, Blessing.
Actually, that'd be cool. Sorry, I'm thinking of Ghost of Tsushima challenge rooms.
No, do not do that. Do not do that. Do not do that. It's all in the open world. Just keep it there. All right? Just keep it in the open world. Let me have some fun.
What if it's like a challenge chamber where like you go underground as Jin and like
a mercenary like fighting arena?
Yeah, something like that.
I'll take that. That's not bad because then I'm just using the stuff I've learned. That's fine. Ladies and gentlemen, this is PS I Love You XOXO. Remember, each and every week. Nope, that's wrong show. Each and every week, we come to you with all the PlayStation news you care about. We talk about it. It's just one big nerding out session about PlayStation. Obviously, a lot to do that with PlayStation 5. Everything's happening on PlayStation 4. Last of Us, Ghost, Iron Man VR. We're stoked and we're happy you're along for the ride. Remember, you can, of course, be part of the show and support us. Patreon.com/kindafunnygames. You can watch live as we record it. You can ask us questions. You can get the exclusive post show we are about to do. However, if you $9 toss our way, it's no big deal. YouTube.com/kindafunnygames. Podcast services around the globe each and every Tuesday morning. Now, Blessing, of course, this show, Volume 2 of PS I Love You XOXO, only exists because we hired you and you said you want to do this show again. This morning, you asked me something about a segment that's been gone for a long time. Do you want to take it from here?
Yeah, man. I hit you up and asked if you'd like to bring back singing to Shuhei in any form, because that was a segment that, you know, during the first iteration of PS Love You. That was like a segment that I really appreciated because it kind of allowed the audience to be creative and to submit their own content. Of course,
they don't know.
Yeah, if you're unfamiliar, right, at the end of each show, you guys would play a song from the audience, a song that somebody from the audience submits in order to get played. And that's how you end the show. You know, I always thought that was like a really cool thing. And I have a friend, Gabe Patillo, who people might be familiar with. Me and him hosted an episode of KFGD back in like February, I want to say. Yeah. Time is a flat circle. Yeah, and Gabe Patillo, of course, of Married to the Games, he hit me up recently and was like, hey, so when I play certain games that I end up falling in love with, I end up making a song about them. And so he texted me, he was like, hey, do you want to like do a rap verse on this song about Final Fantasy VII Remake? And I was like, rapping about Final Fantasy VII Remake? Absolutely, yes. I would love to do that. And so we came together and we made a song. And I brought it up to you. I was like, hey, do you want to bring back singing to Shuhei in any form? And two, do you want to kick it off with this song from me and Gabe? And you're like, you're down for the idea. I think the thing that's interesting about singing to Shuhei is that like in this new iteration, it gets interesting to try and implement in each episode, which I don't think we want to do because at this point it's like a lot of work. But as a thing to do every now and then, I think it could be like a pretty cool idea.
No, I mean, you know, the singing to Shuhei the song at the end goes all the way back to Beyond, right? When I was doing Beyond, and the idea with why it worked on Beyond and why it worked on Volume 1 of PS I Love You, I thought, was that it's more work and it's out of the ordinary from everything we do. Because of course, ladies and gentlemen, we can't just play the song on the YouTube version because what if there's a copyright issue? What if that flags the show? What if that blocks the show in a different country? I don't want to be working with outside MP3s that we're not 100% sure about. Whereas on the MP3, we can put it on there and not worry. But when I edited Beyond and when I edited PS I Love You, that's just more work for me. I felt bad with this iteration of putting that all on Cool Greg, especially when we were spinning up a new show, especially when this is one of the few shows we do right now, right? Outside of the morning stuff, but afternoon shows that we record and then he has to edit. Like, I think it's important to remember, you know, people always want the show longer, even though we're consistently 2 hours more on the show. But keep in mind that means Cool Greg has to stay up even later or at work later, working later. And so, yeah, I'm down to try it and let's feel it out. And again, you can start submitting at patreon.com/kindoffunnygames. But yeah, as we ease into it, I don't know if it'll be something we do every week, but yeah, it's something cool to do. And again, it'll be in the MP3 version, not the YouTube version, so on and so forth.
Yeah, in the YouTube version though, I'm going to see if we can have like, if there's a YouTube video associated with it, have it in the description. Yeah. And so if you're watching this on YouTube, then look in the description. There should be a link to the YouTube video of the song there.
Cool. Well then, ladies and gentlemen, until next time, unless you're an MP3 listener or you're going to listen to the post show, it's been our pleasure to serve you. Blessing one more time. Who's playing us out?
This is Avalanche by Gabe Patillo featuring Blessing Adeoye Jr.
Cool.
You know how to go get some help for this one. The nephew, Blessing Jr.
What up?
Let's get him. Running high when you hear we in your area. Buried with the clips, T with the material. Shinra, no side, don't want no piece of us. Mako eyes, do or die, you know we bout to tear them up. Said it never come, but finally here, baby. Already know that it's my game of the year, baby. Walking 7th heaven, pour another beer, baby. Knew everybody's name like it's cheers, baby. We got the squad and you know we from the gutter, right? Some slumdog billionaires who love to fight. We on the last call, this is the last dance. What's the name, baby? Avalanche.
Avalanche, and you know that I'm the Barrett man. Gun on the wrist, don't ask if I can lend a hand. I spit Aerith magic, and I'm on cloud 9. Cause Gabe hit me up, and it's about time. Cause I'm like Tifa with the hands, never doubt mine. Midgar South Side, and I'm from Sector 5. Slum living, it's unwritten, it's dumb fiction. From the mind of a genius, man, that's something different. We got the squad, and you know we from the gutter, right? Some slumdog billionaires who love to fight. We on the last call, this is the last dance. What's the name, baby? Avalanche.
Avalanche, avalanche. You smoking if you think them jokers stand a chance. Avalanche, avalanche. You better get the feds, call the ambulance.
Bust a rhyme, bust a sword, man, it's all the same. Cause when it comes down to it, I'm trying to win the game. I'm trying to win this thing. I'm trying to live it break. This Sephiroth ain't a problem, homie, this is fate.
We got the squad and you know we from the gutter, right?
Some slumdog billionaires who are defied.
We on the last call, this is the last dance. What's the name, baby? Avalanche. Kinda funny, yeah.
Married to the games, what up?